and welcome to Now You're In Stuff. And I'm here with, I didn't even introduce myself. I'm getting a restart.
It's been a while. Oh my gosh.
I was like, well, I have to remember to introduce Dave, and I was like,
you should leave that in.
I'm not. It's too much now.
You should just put it at the end.
Yeah, just that's where trash and it goes. It goes to the end. Dump it.
Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
You remembered this time.
I did. I remembered to say who I was, which is very important when you have an audio-only medium. But we also have another host for this week's episode. We have Dave returning.
How's it going?
It's going well. I'm sure our listeners, I miss you a lot. So yeah, it's good to have you here to record both a post Mythic Championship episode, but also the first bit of the M20. He's not paying attention. The M20 PALOOZA. So, but yeah, I mean, before we jump into everything, I do want to, of course, give a big thank you to all of our patrons over on our Patreon. If you're interested in joining our Patreon, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/atyourendstep. And again, to our patrons, we couldn't do this without you, so thank you. So, no community segment for this week, obviously. We're jumping right into competitive and talking about Mythic Championship 3, which was the arena-only Mythic Championship that had 68?
68.
Yeah, 68 competitors. And had a lot of people talking. As far as what I saw, which...
And we're some of them. This is the content you're here for.
Which admittedly I didn't, I didn't watch all of it. I wouldn't even say I watched a lot of it. It was just a... bad weekend for me to be able to watch that Magic content that was happening on Saturday, pretty much. So, what I saw, it definitely reminded me a lot of the actual Invitational, the Mythic Invitational, down to the sparklers going off every time someone was announced, and even similar faces that we've seen before on the coverage crew.
Credit to BBD for being one of the only players to embrace like that kind of intro. Like he was doing some like motions and like some he's like there's not a lot of players just like walk in and sit down. And he was like, how many times are you gonna have? Like sparklers going off when your name's announced.
Pyrotechnics, like you're not they aren't rock stars in the Magic Mythic Championship. So,
but it could be sponsored by Rockstar, huh?
It could be. I think it's sponsored by Red Bull. So,
that's true. I suppose
it was kind of a mixed bag from what I saw. Like some of the players were just like, totally ignored it, and then some people played it up. I know like Greg Orange played it up a little bit. Yeah, Greg Orange did a little bit. Shahar played it up a little bit.
Anybody who could get into it was a little more enjoyable.
Yeah,
but. I agree with you, Morgan. It did feel like the Mythic Invitational. I watched a fair amount. I was doing some workouts over the weekend, so I was able to like have it on while I was doing other things. I also go with the mixed bag. A lot of great games. Like we could talk about some of the a lot of really good matches. The coverage was overall pretty good. The individual match coverage was pretty good. I still have some frustration with how some of the things are done. I know we messaged a couple times here. I get really frustrated with this is the third time we've seen her now, Becca Scott, not being able to learn people's names, not being able to put together sentences when you're interviewing something. And she's a professional. Like she does a lot of other like things. And I know I'm not just trying to like just criticize her, but I just like we said it multiple times, like, you could just have Maria do this. So who knows these people personally, who is very happy and good at this. I don't know, somewhere along the line of 2-time national championship Autumn Burchett. And I was like, you couldn't have said a worse thing there. Like, not their name. Like, just not they're 2-time national champions, or they have won the national championship 2 times. Nothing like I don't know. It frustrated me that every time it went down, it was like, and it doesn't help that they also give her almost nothing to work with for interviews. Like we talked about this at the Mythic Invitational, but the people aren't always prepared to be talked to, even though like ostensibly you want a match, you're going to talk to the floor reporter, and she didn't always know what actually happened in the match outside of like the last thing that happened. So all the interviews are still super awkward. Yes, I did this. It was good.
Yeah, I think she's good at what she does, but I think like it definitely comes off as she's unprepared or just unfamiliar with a lot of things.
And I think like Jordan mentioned this in our chat. Like Day 9 gets that some too because Magic's just not his natural like base his game. So sometimes some of the things he says, we saw it in the Mythic Invitational too, where like you could feel like Brian Kibler going, no, that's not quite right.
I think it's interesting because I think watching on Twitter and just seeing like the responses, I think a lot of people do still enjoy Day 9 though.
No, I'm not saying I don't enjoy him, but like I think like because I don't want to sound like I'm not trying to like gatekeep Magic here, like only Magic people who know it could like Magic, but I do think like when you take a person who is good at what she does and is a good video content producer, but you keep putting her in this situation where I don't know, it's frustrating. You have other people who are good at this.
You wouldn't take somebody who is like primarily a baseball commentator and stick them in a basketball game. Like
no, I think there was a really good SNL skit about that with an NBA reporter going to hockey. I think it was actually as they say hockey. Let's do that hockey.
Let's do that hockey.
Yeah. So. No, I don't know.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I agree. So, but overall, the coverage is good. I thought Cedric and I think like Alias V is also like I really enjoyed listening to that pairing a lot. Like the Cedric and Alias V, like they were a really good pairing. I don't know. There was. I think they're still working out some kinks, and I hope that. I also want to make mention. A lot of people asked about this. On Twitter, I saw. I do think that you missed the audience a little bit. One of the things the Mythic Invitational had by virtue of where it was, you had people there, standing there. They could zoom out and show you all the people who were watching this. I don't know who this stage show was really for.
Right. And like, you can't just like fabricate an audience there. You know what I mean? You can't just be like,
we are real people.
We are real people. Because the people are there because they have a reason to be there. The people, were at PAX because they had a reason to be at PAX. So, like, why do you have a reason for people to be at the Mythic Championship 3? Unless you house it, again, like you do with your regular Mythic Championships, you house them around a Grand Prix.
Yeah, I thought, like, we talked about how much of, I thought, a good marriage of MC Cleveland was, where you had the Pro Tour, Mythic Championship, whatever, in one room and the GP in the other, and it felt like this big event.
Yeah.
And this feels like the exact opposite. So, I don't know.
Feels like you were doing a very complicated dance inside the privacy of your own home.
But you're still videotaping it.
Oh yes, you're broadcasting. Yes, you were definitely like on Twitch doing something very, very complicated for just someone in the privacy of your own home, where it's like, well, this could have been helped if you were on a stage with a crowd
with sparklers. Now you said sparklers, like they're obviously not, but now that's why I want the next one to be. It's just like somebody lighting like 5 sparklers,
just Roman candles,
funk, funk, and then when they announce me, they'll just light a snake.
Yeah,
those little ash snakes.
I don't know, and like there's ways that you could make those.
I said ash. By the way.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there's probably ways that you can look into potentially trying to get an audience there to be interested in that sort of thing. Maybe the audience gets access to special like things on Arena, and that the only way you can get them is by going to attend one of these.
Oh yeah, no, I mean make it a party.
Yeah. So I mean like. There people like watching Magic, and they can watch it, whether it's stream online or not. But I mean, like something like Dota does their championship, and a lot of their prize pool is funded by people actually buying what equates to sort of like a season pass, I guess, to speak sort of plainly. I don't know the exact breakdown of it, but that helps fund their big grand like finale tournament prize pool, and people get things for attending, like going to the actual tournament and watching and attending and being a spectator, and like that's a interesting avenue to go to get people to go to these things if that's what you want.
Do the Dota tournaments travel as well?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, okay.
They definitely have a lot of different ones that happen, but the main one happens and it travels every year. It goes to it usually goes to different places. So it's something they can definitely look to like emulate if they want a crowd. But that's something they have to want. I think a lot of people were right in saying that it's something they should probably look at doing for this sort of thing.
It would have made some of those moments where like the people like they're announcing people and like they just kind of walk in and sit down, like some cheers would have been nice.
Yeah, it's weird because when you think of like those big esports like tournaments and stuff like that, like you always feel like there is a crowd. There is like a crowd of people there and being very, very excited for what's going on and everything like that. But Magic's doesn't really function that way.
No,
a lot of the time.
Yeah, I don't know, but
so
this goes back to the continued like them trying to make the marriage of Magic and esports. Like they've got and they're working on figuring these things out, and they'll continue to.
And I think like if you want to do that, you just got to go all the way. You got to like figure out that last part because
just.
That's what people have in their minds as being like an esports tournament.
Honestly, I know that it's like it's prom, it's close to graduation. You're getting nervous. I don't know. I was gonna make a go all the way joke, but like I don't actually like where that's going, so I'm gonna stop.
Definitely not.
Like I was just going generic teen movie, but I don't like it. Just go ahead, just put the brakes on there.
Gonna stop this before it goes literally anywhere. But I mean, like obviously this was a Magic tournament. And people like competed and won and everything like that. We had storylines and all that jazz. So I would want to talk about the person that won the tournament, which is Matthias Leverato with Simic Nexus. So congrats to them. They defeated
Brad Nelson so many times.
Yeah, many times.
I think they were actually 2-2 in matches played, weren't they? Which says something about the tournament. He came back and beat Brad despite like Brad having a pretty it looked like commanding board state. I think on day 2. No, that's not right because Brad went through on day 2. I don't remember.
I don't know.
No, it was on day 2.
It was a weird
it was on day 2, and then Savarado not Savarado, whatever. Leverato. Sorry, he won and then he lost and then he won. So yeah, they went 2-2 in matches played.
Yeah.
So
I just want to back up for a second. So you mentioned like storylines. The top 4 was like they just had really good storylines going.
I agree.
So you had Shahar Shenhar, who apparently is just a master at these smaller tournaments. Like you just pencil him in for top whatever.
Also left after day 1. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, so there were a ton of people who were 5-3, and a couple of them got in on breakers. He was certain that he wasn't going to do it. So after he got his 3rd loss, he's like left.
Oh,
they had to delay the announcement for day 2 to call him to come back because he made day 2, and they top forward. Yeah, so it's another good story.
Because of course he did.
Yeah, of course he did.
You had Kai Bude, who just
you can't invite that man to your tournaments.
Yeah,
he's gonna steal all your money.
To be fair, I mean he hasn't really made a lot. I mean he's been around. He's played in pro tours
every now and then. Yeah, not even like as much as Finkel. Like
he's definitely not a full time pro or anything like that at this point. But you know what? A lot of people that remember him from back in the day were really happy to see him make top 4.
I'm not gonna lie. One of the reasons I watched as much coverage as I did this weekend, despite doing like all these other things, is I was kind of glued to it whenever Kai was playing, and he's still a master.
Yeah, turns out.
Yeah,
still pretty good.
Still a master.
Yeah, Brad Nelson, who just had they're talking about how he had a dominant run through the MPL leagues and. Until I'll be honest, I didn't watch any of that, but apparently he went undefeated through that, and then went undefeated on day 2 because he didn't play on day 1 because he had a bye.
Yeah,
so he was just kind of crushing it. And him and Kai were actually playing the same deck, except for like one card or something. It was like one card off the Esper Hero, and then you had Matthias Leverato, who was one of the people that qualified via Arena. So he was literally nobody. I don't think I'd ever heard of him. Maybe some of his countrymates knew of him, but I had never heard of him before. And he was just the underdog story going in.
So he qualified for the Barcelona MC as well via an MCQ playing Civic Nexus, and they said he had like 2,000 some games in an Arena. I have to assume almost all of them are Civic Nexus. Like that. That's what he won the qualifier with on Arena. Like, just knows the deck. And if like watching some of the games,
showed.
Where he won, it was just like, whoa, okay.
He was really fast with it too.
Yeah.
So there were definitely certain points where he would stop and think, but like once he was going off, like there's a lot of 100%. End of turn, triggers and things like that, to where he was very smooth with the deck. And actually, I appreciated that because it can be kind of miserable to watch.
I mean, there's no joy to be gained out of watching like the Nexus deck like win over a long period of time.
I will say the inclusion of not just his version, but I think also it was Emma Handy and Autumn Burchett. Mm-hmm. The inclusion of Nissa's does speed up those games.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like you find the Nissa, you start going off,
And they even
you just
had,
win.
I know his list had mobilized district in it
Yes,
as well,
yes.
and that becomes a 6/6 when you put counters on it, which is pretty all right as long as you activate it,
Yeah,
of course. But
Yeah, I got to do that in Cube last week
yeah,
with a what's it called? Creeping tar pit. So yeah, that was cool.
Nice.
Unblockable.
gross.
Unblockable. I like it. So, watch. I know a lot of people, and I only ask your thoughts quickly on this because I know I put it in a Discord too, but just because I know we want to get to the Palooza, but I want to know how you guys feel about the structure. Obviously, so you had to get to 6 wins on day 1. Or whatever 6 wins was your threshold, and then whatever else got in after 8 matches. So it was like a bunch of a couple of 6-0s, or maybe 1 6-0, and then some 6-1s, 6-2s, and then 5-3s. Day 2 was a double elimination bracket of a 16, and then day 3 top 4 was double elimination again through that, which caused a couple of interesting things to happen. Brad Nelson went 3-0 and got into day. Got to the top 4.
Yeah.
Greg Orange went 6-2 and got eliminated from the tournament after going undefeated day 1. So you had some weird things here. You had also an 8-3 in the top 4, and just like you had some really weird numbers when you look at match wins. And I don't know how much that matters. I know Willie Idol was trying to talk about, does this count as like a PT top 8, like you would count on a paper one? And I don't know because of those numbers. Like, I don't think you could hold it against Brad Nelson. They're like, oh, well, that doesn't count as the top 8. You only played 3 matches to get into it. Well, he did all the work he was supposed to do otherwise. So I don't know. It was interesting.
I think I genuinely think the tournament structure hurts the players that did well for that specific reason. Because regardless of how people, how you ideally would want to look at it, I think people will still look at it as not a true MC top 8. I think that people will not understand how the tournament structure works, or this is just. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
No, a lot of people did not.
Correct.
There were prominent people
who did
yelling
not.
about didn't Brad already win? It's like, nope. And they've said they were very clear about the tournament structure multiple times.
And I think that they don't care how it works, and because it's different, that it's not the same, and it's not as skill intensive. Also, there's no draft portion to this, so people will discredit the tournament for that as well. Yeah. I think there are a lot of reasons why this being so different from your typical Mythic Championship, in people's eyes, looking at it, I think that this isn't. It's still an accomplishment, but it's not the same. If that makes any sense.
Does the limited thing actually? So, Dave, I don't actually know because I can't remember Pro Tours from when I was young, and it's not an age joke, I promise. But Kai has 2 team wins. Did Team Pro Tours used to team draft? Because Greg Orange is top 8, does not have a draft portion, correct? And PT 25 did not have a draft portion, right?
Right.
So
right, but that was a mixed format.
Right. I don't. Yeah. Did old team Pro Tours have a draft format? I do not remember.
I don't remember either.
But I've never heard somebody suggest Greg Orange and that whole team's top 8 doesn't count.
Sure.
I think the thing is though that they played 15 rounds.
No, here's the thing. I don't disagree, and I think something that WotC should really consider. They obviously don't care about the Pro Tour branding anymore, which is kind of sad because they've wholly abandoned it. But these events are different from paper ones.
Yeah, and I think they should be titled something different.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. What do you think, Dave?
Because
I agree with that. I mean, this felt more like the Invitational than any of the paper tournaments that we've seen. So.
And again, it's all about familiarity, and it's all about what people already know. So they're not gonna work their brain any harder than they have to, and that's just human beings, unfortunately. So regardless of how much work and dedication went into getting into the top 4 of this tournament, it's still going to be looked at differently than a paper Mythic Championship when people go for voting. And I think maybe that's me putting my own bias in there, because I would look at it differently if I had the ability to vote. But I think there's more than likely people that also think the same way that I do. Yeah. I still think it's an accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. I think that's still important to point out.
I mean, the check will still cash either
Yeah,
way.
exactly. And it's still something. I just think that people will look at it differently. And maybe there's people out there who think it'll be more difficult to do something like this.
I mean, like, I don't know, like, Brad Nelson didn't win, and I'm going to play this hypothetical, but like, so say Brad Nelson wins this tournament, right? And you're going to say that, well, Brad, that doesn't really count. And he's going to be like, I had to beat Kai Buddha 3 times to win this thing. Yeah, but it still doesn't count. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's weird. I don't know. That's crazy.
I'm not saying it doesn't count. I'm saying it's not the same.
No. I agree. It's not the same. I just
He could have theoretically went 6-0 and won the tournament.
yeah, you're not wrong.
It's like
Which
that's a nice clean. That's like an F&M sometimes.
Here's the thing. I have more problem with that. We talked about that last time. That like they kept trying to build up all this hype for like the players entering the tournament, and like people like it's like if you were a BBD fan, which I'm a BBD fan, right?
Yeah.
You literally didn't get to see him at all day 1.
Nope.
And then he owed 2 day 2 and he was out of the tournament. And I feel bad because I know he already feels trolled by a million people, including Brad Nelson. But in all reality, that is such a weird thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like you're a Patriots fan, so here's the thing: Tom Brady played real well all year, so he doesn't have to play the first half anymore, and he actually only has to play the third quarter for only 10 minutes. You'll probably still win, but that you paid money for a ticket, you only get to see Tom Brady for 10 minutes because he did so well, because he did so good.
It's almost like resting players too, right? Like
Uh,
in the NBA. I came to see LeBron James.
LeBron James. Yeah, no, you're not wrong though. Like I felt like it was really odd. Like these are the play. Like if you were a person who watched the Spark Split MPL every week, and none of us are those people. No one's those people. But if you were the unicorn that did it, right, and you were like BBD, 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 where'd he go? Oh, he did so good. You don't get to see him play anymore. That's such a weird. It's a good reward for the player. Don't get me wrong. Like automatic day 2, like. Cash bump for getting to the that is a good prize.
I think people didn't really like it just because it's so unfamiliar. I mean, we never had a tournament like this before.
No.
So, even though we say it's similar to the Invitational, but we didn't have buys.
No,
we didn't have leagues that led up to this that actually influenced the tournament. So, I mean, I see what they're trying to do. They're tying everything in. Personally, I just like I said, I haven't really cared too much about the MPL weekly leagues too much. I kind of knew that Brad Nelson and BBD had won their divisions or whatever and got buys, but cool.
It was a weird thing.
Yeah, I actually do like the structure that they did in the top. I do like the double elimination structure for top 4. I don't know about like day 2. I think I'd just prefer just a straight Swiss, and then after the cut, the double elimination is kind of nice because it takes some of the variance out of it a little bit. So if you do lose, if you kind of get a little unlucky, you do have another shot to come back.
Yeah,
but you are disadvantaged, obviously.
No, 100%. We saw that a little bit with like Shahar, who lost probably his most secure matchup in the top 4.
Yeah, he lost to Leverado.
Yeah, just with the Nexus, and he had some real bad draws, and the games that Matthias won, oh my gosh, he was like, oh, I have every card I need here, because that's what you have to do in that matchup. So like Shahar wasn't able to win the second one, but you could see like this is a really good matchup that I got extremely unlucky in, and having a chance is nice. So I think I would agree it's still like Swiss, just because again I feel like you look at someone like I said, like Greg Orange is the one that like sticks out, where it's like, hey, you did everything you needed to do day 1, and never mind. Thanks for coming. So, but people with more losses than you are still live for top 4. And I mean, that's excuse me. I mean, that's just weird. And again, maybe it's just because it's different, but it also just feels, I don't know, it feels weird to me. So, want to move on to the Palooza?
Yeah.
Okay. We could say more.
There is one more thing, and I sent it to our show chat. So pull up the show chat, read what I sent. And then I just can't wait till you read this.
This is we could this is
can't wait. This
good
is live
content.
reaction. I'll fill it in. They're reading it right now. I one thing I wanted to talk about is
first go at the M20 spoiler sheet is done.
No, there's more.
There's not.
I mean,
wait, what?
I don't have it.
You gotta wait for. You might have to restart your Discord app.
Yeah, I just did it.
I wanted to see like
Oh, my bad.
how many.
Oh no, I did see this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this was shared by I think Abe Corrigan on Twitter, is who I saw it from.
Yeah.
But it's for the Red Bull Untapped tournament that's going to be happening. I think this is for the not the non-paper one. This is for the arena one. It says tournament rules, deck lists. As there's no way for us to check any deck lists in between rounds, so we cannot enforce any players to use the same deck list for all rounds. You are allowed to change decks, and there's no mandatory deck list collection. For coverage reasons, at future streams of Red Bull Untapped, we may contact you to request your deck list information, but up to you to decide to share it or not.
Like, you just say, can we have a deck list for coverage? No.
No. So what?
So you want to talk about weird tournaments?
That what? I
Use
just
your
don't
words.
know. I
Use
just
your
don't.
words,
I just
Morgan.
don't even know what to think about this. Like
So,
to be perfectly honest,
I read through that thread on there because I did see this tweet, and there are a number of players. Now, I don't play other games, but
Yeah.
other players suggested that it's not super uncommon with certain like TCGs to be able to switch in between tournaments. So part of this sounding so weird is just because like we're so used to Magic being like you lock in a deck. And now, granted, I think there's something to be said for like, yes, that is a Magic thing. Like that is a thing that you do in Magic.
yes.
But the nice thing, at least about that, is that you can't. The one of the major things about deck lists when you talk about tournament integrity is fear of people cheating. Are they pre-boarding? Is there cards that are not legal? Like, are they, do they have more copies of a card? That sort of thing. There is no fear of that in Arena. You can't cheat. You know what I mean? The only way you could ostensibly cheat is if you were able to know who you were playing in advance and know what they were playing. But of course, they could change the deck they're playing. So, from a logistical standpoint, this doesn't actually harm tournament integrity. Does it make it super weird? Yeah, but like Red Bull's also they sponsor competitions where people build their own planes and then jump off of a bridge. So like, yeah, like I'm not super shocked here. It's buck wild. Don't get me wrong.
It sounds buck wild. I don't see like I just wouldn't want to be in that kind of tournament. I'll be perfectly honest.
I'd be in that tournament because they'd pay me money to.
Well, okay.
Yeah, you do it, Morgan.
Yeah, you would do it for the money. Come on. Don't pretend like you have dignity now just because nobody wants you in that tournament.
That's true. But it's
They
easy. It's
don't want
easy
me in that tournament either.
It's easy from this position though to say that I wouldn't be in
That's
it.
fair.
Though.
To be fair, we also
I-
applied for it though because multiple people who have a legitimate like streamer like this and that did not get in, and a lot of people who were like, I don't really stream, but I still applied for it, definitely did get in. So we all should have applied.
I mean, I'm not going to be up that early in the morning to.
Here's what I'm going to say: you would if they paid you.
I mean, I guess you're not 100% wrong. Could I say that I wouldn't like it?
Yeah, that's totally
All
fine.
right. Well, I wouldn't like it.
Okay, look what we've established. We would all do things that would not make us happy for money. Welcome to being an adult. And now this episode got depressing. So let's Palooza, please.
Before we jump into the Palooza,
Oh my God, Morgan!
I have to talk about our lovely sponsor, Comic Town.
Oh, that's okay.
So if you haven't checked out their website, go to www.worldofcomictown.com. They have a whole bunch of things there. Obviously, they have their event schedule, so you know what can be, what's going to be coming up in the near future. But if you are a comic book fan, like some of us here are on the show, they actually have another podcast they do. It's a video podcast they have over on YouTube. It's Black, White, and Red all over.
Black and white and red all over. It's a joke, Morgan.
Well, the on their website it literally says black, white, and red all over.
Yeah,
so
but that's
I'm
okay.
reiterating what they have literally put on there. This is for search engine optimization.
Okay,
Messing up
sure.
the ad read.
This is
Well,
SEO.
but it should have flow like it's black and white and red all over. Get it? Because like they read it all over the place.
Yeah.
But
I'm
red
just
is
saying.
it's red as a pun
This-
because you
it's
have red and
I
red.
get it. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you are interested in listening to their podcast where they talk about the weekly releases in the comic world, definitely check it out. And again, go to worldcomictown.com. All right, Palooza time.
Stop.
Collaborate.
Oh,
Listen.
I was
yeah,
gonna say,
that
I was gonna say
actually
stop. Palooza time.
Oh, sorry.
But that's wow. Okay.
Pizza time.
It's an old NES game. We can't get.
Yeah.
Yeah. sued.
Shout outs to everyone who's watching Summer Games Done Quick. That's going on currently.
It's not Morgan. We've already been told we have a hard time limit because he has a game.
Yeah, real
scheduled.
hard of midnight Eastern time. Yeah, super. I hope that we are done with this by that time.
We got 3.5 hours. Let's go.
Okay. I'm pulling up. So we're going to do things like slightly differently. Obviously, a lot of Magic sets have cycles in them, and we grouped all the cycles together to kind of talk about them collectively. So we will be doing that at some point in time. I don't know if we're going to do that at the beginning or towards the end before we jump into multicolor.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
Mix them in. We'll sprinkle them in. You do like one color, then a cycle.
Oh, I like
color
that.
than a
I like
cycle.
that. One color in a cycle.
Yeah, I like that. Okay,
All right.
we'll do that. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with white here. Mike and Dave, do you want to do the honors of reading the cards?
Yeah, sure. I can start here.
And I'll be up front. We will probably have to jump in and like midstream with cards in case there's something that isn't on the list that you guys do want to talk about. So we might have some like notable mentions for a little bit, but it is a core
I've done
set.
enough Paloozas to know that I'm about to say something very stupid about a card.
Yeah, we're
that's
always
gonna see a lot
wrong.
of play. I'm going to ignore cards, and one of us, I will say more often than me, is going to go, well, what about this card? And then that card will do something stupid for like 2 weeks, and I'll be like, see, and then it'll go away. Yes, rally the ancestors, Dave. I know.
No, you had Collected Company.
Yeah, I collect a
Yeah,
company.
yeah.
So
That was good.
yeah, but see, then we have the flip side. Because I had
Walking
Walking Ballista and Jason Prodigy.
Jason Prodigy. Unplayable.
The highs and the lows. So, but let's start with Ajani's Strength of the Pride. This is 2 white for a legendary planeswalker Simba. 5 loyalty +1. You gain life equal to the number of creatures you control plus the number of planeswalkers you control. -2, create a 2/2 white cat soldier creature token named Ajani's Pridemate. With whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Ajani's Pridemate. Get it? It makes a legitimate Magic card. You can't use them as tokens, though.
No.
Sorry. Assuming there will be tokens for this, right? Like we saw those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they already have.
Yes.
And then 0, the most interesting part of this card. If you have at least 15 life more than your starting life total, exile Ajani's Strength of the Pride and each artifact and creature your opponents control. So, a couple of the planeswalkers we had here were sort of experimenting with different, we already saw this War of the Spark where they kind of literally removed ultimates from a lot of planeswalkers, and here, like, the ultimate is a little bit different. Like, you're getting rid of Ajani when you do it, and it has a pretty interesting effect. Now, this is also a common theme in white in this set, which is if you have 15 life over your starting life total, right? Because there's like 2 other cards?
Yeah.
Some of them have, it's like if you have 25 life or
25
more.
life
Yeah,
or
it's-
whatever.
life gain in general is
But
life gain
this
is a
obviously
theme.
for,
Central
like,
theme,
Commander
yeah.
or whatever.
Right. I don't know. So what do we think about this? 4 mana, it comes in, it ticks down, it does protect itself. It makes a fairly robust creature. And the 0 is interesting. So Dave, you got a thumbs down, so why do you say that?
I don't see why you'd play this, I guess.
It's fair. The
I'll go out
+1
on a
is
limb, I guess,
real
and say I
bad.
don't think this is...
yeah.
mean,
+1 is where you're looking at it being like, well, this is pretty lackluster.
Yeah, don't like that.
Yeah. So I'm probably more along the lines of Dave, but it's a planeswalker. The 0 is powerful. If there's a deck that can consistently like pull it off, like
There is. That's my only reason for wanting to mention this. So if you did watch a bunch of the Mythic Championship, these Esper variants, both the hero and non-hero versions, they get to pretty high life totals pretty consistently, especially in mid-range mirrors. You had multiple games where before the board finally solidified a little bit, Esper players were at 30, 35, 38, 40 life because of multiple triggers off of things like
Ozakaya,
and the Elite Scale Guard or Basilica Bellhaunt.
Elite Guard Mage.
Scale Guard. My bad.
Did you go into Tarkir?
Cube All-Star.
Yeah, card sweet.
But sorry, so I do think it's something there, and then you get a one-sided Wrath. Now the flip side is those creatures or those decks don't have a lot of creatures of their own, so you can't really take advantage of the one-sided Wrath. But we do have precedent for mid-range decks in this format having the time to gain a bunch of life. This card paired with Sorin, like this, right? Like
I just think like in the current climate of Standard, it seems to be all about Planeswalker advantage.
right,
Yeah.
So it's like even if you do get off the ultimate, what is that even doing?
yeah, maybe that's true. You know
what I mean? So it's like,
Well,
and then the other abilities are kind of
Okay,
gain life. And
hold
make
on.
some
It also gets rid of artifacts.
Yeah.
Because
Not-
that's a relevant
not very
line.
That'll be relevant when we go back to New Phyrexia
That's
later
true, I
on in the
guess.
year.
Yeah.
All right. But okay, so I think
don't like it.
It's on the fringe of playable would be my guess.
All right, so next card, Bishop of Wings. So it's a white 1/4, a human cleric. Whenever an angel enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life. Whenever an angel you control dies, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. It's a rare. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a it's a 1/4. We have Divine Visitation in the format, which still is the thing that exists. I don't know. This card just is like weird as a rare, and it's kind of splashy. We have Relevant Angels still in the format technically.
Yeah, right now we definitely do still have Relevant Angels. Are seeing a fair amount of play.
Even like Resplendent Angel,
Resplendent Angel still exists, but like Shalai and Lyra are the two that really are seeing a fair amount of play.
which are going to be rotating soon. So like if this card has a time to be relevant in any way, shape, or form, it's probably exactly right now.
I mean, we
When-
had
when it releases.
we had Boros Angels be a player in the format
Early on.
before Ravnica Allegiance or whatever it is, Guilds of Ravnica, whatever the second one was.
And I think like the only reason I even thought about putting this card on here is because it was a 1/4, and it can stick around.
At the MCQ 2 weeks ago, I saw Sun Cleanser in play. So 1/4 is
If you really want to beat Mono Red, you could play this card.
I curved this into Shalai.
Yeah, it's unclear on how good Mono Red would be going forward, but
I mean,
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah.
Did not do well at the MC, that's for
Shahar
sure.
top forward with it, but that's about it.
Yep, and he's the only one who day 2'd with it.
Correct.
So
And he's a good Magic player.
yeah, very good. Interestingly enough. All right, well, let's move on to the next card, which is a real weird one. This is Brought Back. White for an instant. Choose up to 2 target permanent cards in your graveyard that were put from the battlefield this turn. Put there from the battlefield this turn. Return them to the battlefield tapped. So they kill your 2 creatures, and you're like, hold on. They're back.
Yeah, it's weird why they even have creatures of this art when it should just be like 2 lands.
It's just like two pictures of a flooded strand that somebody took. Like,
it's a Windswept Heath and a Flooded Strand.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's just split. Like,
yeah,
the art.
in modern, the applications certainly get better. The combo potential is already there because, like, you could set up turns with this card. It's not quite Second Sunrise, but it does some gross things. But the weird ability in modern to just like ramp you from 2 to 4, that's interesting. Like, turn 1, play a fetch land, go. Turn 2, fetch land. All right, fetch them both. White, do this. Yeah, okay, I'll get my 2 fetch lands back. Like, that's weird. It's an instant, so I can just do it on your turn, and I'll untap on my turn. So, I don't know how relevant that is, but it feels like it could be. I don't know. Like, what a weird card.
Yeah, it is definitely weird. It's cool with Buried Alive. If you have Buried Alive and then you can cast this, it's
Buried Alive pulls from your library.
It doesn't say. It says if we're putting
They
to your
have to go
graveyard.
They have to go there from the battle.
Oh, from the
I was
battlefield.
like,
Okay, never mind.
Then there's more
that would be
set,
possible.
in that sentence.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought that wasn't.
But I
there.
mean, like, I think like standard purposes, Kaya's Wrath is obviously super popular right now. This is, we talk about the White Weenie decks, for example, where Kaya's Wrath is so good. This is not now. Granted, maybe you just rather have negate, and that's fine. But this is not a bad play after that happens. Like, it's like, Kaya's Wrath. Let's go. Okay, well, these 2 are back.
And even if you're talking about like White Weenie, you still have History Benalia.
Yeah, that's true too.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
Oh man, that's ooh, okay, all right. I like where we're going with this.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
or like destroy your enchantment, your O-ring, bring it back.
Yeah, I just feel like if you're playing it for that purpose, though, those types of cards like never really pan out.
No.
So we had the one. What was like the green one that's like gave all your creatures indestructible and hexproof or something like that, or like you got like
Yeah,
Johnny's
talking about-
Presence.
Johnny's Presence.
That's a little bit of play.
Yeah, a little bit.
A
but
little
it's
You know
not
the
really-
green one? The green one's like a $10
Yeah.
card.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is
but
true.
it doesn't mean that it's like
Well,
super
no,
playable.
but it's exciting to a lot of players, so I will say that. I agree. A green thing that gives hexproof and indestructible, though, like we're talking about. I'm talking about a format where a White Weenie deck is already very good and
Yeah,
exists. Go back to Kaladesh and show me the green deck that wanted to play that card. Energy mirrors weren't about wrath spells; they're about harness lightning. So I think it's format dependent. I don't disagree with you that it's probably not as great, but whenever we do see this card seen play, it'll either be the most fair thing or there's no middle ground. It's like, oh, okay, you're just bringing 2 guys back. That's fine. Or you're beating me to death with this. This
It's
is nice.
probably a good thing that it's just white, right?
Yeah, I agree.
That's probably the fairest color you can try to put this effect in. And again, you still have some like people comparing it to like Second Sunrise, which was a very big contributor to a very gross modern deck. But this is definitely not as powerful as that because it has limits. Limits are important.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not as high as some people are on this card necessarily. I think the white cost really hampers a lot of things that you can.
No, like I said,
And
it'll
just
be a card
generally
that we
for-
may forget about, and then somebody will break it. Matt and
And-
Nass will do something disgusting
yeah,
with it,
some-
and they'll be
some
like,
dumb
"Oh,
stuff.
okay."
Yeah, I think
I do think it's a card that when you look at might only exist to fuel something broken though.
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
don't look to play this in anything
Fair.
Fair.
Yeah, that's
This
probably
is a good way to look at
outside
it.
of standard. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're probably like I don't know what unfair things you can realistically do in standard. You know,
Yeah,
Well, like I said, it's a weird card. I feel like we're gonna say that a lot.
yeah. This is a
with
weird
this
set.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, no, it's a cycle. My bad. I almost
Yeah.
forgot.
So the next card is Disenchant.
yeah.
It's like the white naturalized.
I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So
No, it is disenchant. Naturalize.
No,
No, don't do
naturalize-
this. Don't
no.
do this. No, not in for the trolls. It's
naturalized
not nice.
I think has existed longer in standard than Disenchant.
Yeah, but
Never
that doesn't make it the original.
Okay, fine. Disenchant's the OG naturalized.
Yeah, thank you. Like, dear Lord.
Actually,
Give
I
it
used,
its
I used to
credit.
have a beta one, but I sold it.
I prefer Urza Saga ones. I don't know why. Those are the ones I like. Yeah, I don't know. Has Hannah on it.
Fair.
This is the first standard event at like time that I've existed where Disenchant's been standard legal. So since playing Magic,
Sweet summer
Yeah.
child.
period. End of story.
It's cool. I mean, now this is basically, strictly we're just talking about standard here. We just got the new Disenchant in Modern Horizons. That's both
Yeah.
green and white.
Yeah.
Which you're probably just always playing that. so.
Right. Trying to think. Are there any artifacts that we care about right now in standard? Not really.
Not until New Phyrexian.
So really, so you'd be using it for the enchantment removal. There's Wilderness Reclamation. There's Search for Riscantha you might want to kill, but there's already Erase right in the format. So if
Sure.
you really want to kill enchantments, you can play the
Or
one
just
mana
like
one.
Mortify.
Right.
Has more flexibility and isn't seeing any play now.
Yeah, so I mean, you really want.
It's 3 mana and 2 color.
No,
requirements,
sure.
yeah.
But I'm saying like where this would already see play right now. So yeah, I mean it's good to have. I'm glad to have it back.
It's just it
taken a while
hasn't
to see a
been in
long time.
standard
Yeah.
for a long time, and that I just found that notable. And maybe it's because like it'll be at an all time like needlessness. So like or maybe it's needed for something. I don't know.
Yeah, the permanents that you really want to kill are planeswalkers.
Yeah.
So
All right. Next up is God's Willing. This is a single white for an instant. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Scry 1. Wait a second.
this is
Yeah.
a reprint.
Yeah, it's a reprint from a bygone era when protection was still allowed. I guess protection is back.
Yep. It's on probation.
Guess
It's got
like
a,
all you talked about.
it's got an ankle monitor
know,
on it.
I
It's got to
know.
check in with its officer
I
every.
hate it.
Every week.
I will say this: God's Willing is very good. Feather is already a deck that's top rated to GP. Like it goes really well in that deck. Don't play this version of the card because this card looks hideous with 2 sections of reminder text.
Yeah, it's very busy. But we already have a pseudo heroic deck, like Mike was saying, and this only fuels that fire. So, yeah, solid card. I think protection being back, while protection is we talked about this last week, right? I think it's just like a necessary evil that they're going to have to contend with.
I still don't like protection as an ability. I don't mind cards like this that like temporarily give a creature protection like as a trick. I think that's fine. But yeah, we'll get into it later when we talk about the protection creatures.
Yeah, I think like they found when they switched it up in the first place, and they said that like you'll still see white getting tricks. Like we have the one from Ixalan that it was kind of their fix, which is Indestructible Scry 1. Indestructible does not do the same things
As
the
protection.
protection, and I think they were hoping
And
it would be suitable.
Neither does hexproof from.
No, they just don't play the same. So, and I think like mechanically, you want white to feel different when it plays a spell, right? Like green got Blossoming Defense, white gets God's Willing. They should play fundamentally differently and be able to do different things. So, I don't mind it coming back in small doses. Yeah, I'm still not a fan of the creatures. Like, I'm just not. Like we'll see how it goes, but man, I don't know. It's weird. Go. What's next?
All right. Next one, Hanged Executioner.
Dave's getting a lot of my.
Yeah. I feel like I haven't gotten a playable card yet, but it's all right. We'll talk about this
You
one.
get disenchant. Historically
Not
playable.
Not playable. Even in modern. All right, so it's 2 and a white for a 1/1 spirit with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying that has an activated ability of 3 and a white, exile Hanged Executioner to exile target creature. It's a rare. I feel like this would be a pretty good limited card. That's probably where that ends. I don't think it's powerful enough for standard.
I think it's just too mana intensive for standard.
Yeah.
This feels like an uncommon, not a rare to me.
If it was just like just exile it to exile a creature,
Like what
you know what I mean, or like maybe pay like one.
What was the Magna? Oh man, the 1 mana one where you egg tapped it and
The
exiled
Magna
it.
Carta?
No, it's like the Magna. Is it like the Magnus of Coronata or Coronata? I can't remember what it is. But,
Corondor?
Corondor, is that it?
Mangara
Mangara.
Condor.
Mangara. That's what it is. My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I never played with a card. I just know that it exists. It's like a 1/1
Yeah,
that it taps,
it taps
and
and-
like this activation cost is so high on this that I just don't know.
Yeah. Again, great limited card.
Yeah.
You know, you kill something, you leave a 1/1 behind. But yeah, I can't see a world where this is construct and play.
Yeah,
It's just it's not powerful enough.
I also don't. I don't think I understand what's going on with this card. Hanged Executioner, and it's a ghost.
Yeah,
So you
he
get
was
another
an
spirit?
executioner, and he got hanged himself. So he must have been.
Yep. The
So
art
then
conveyed
after
it.
he's dead, then he kills somebody else.
Well, I think like he
'Cause he's
just
mad.
he just
Oh,
he's
I
just
get
hanging
it.
out with someone else.
Get out.
He done murdered. So or he done
Anyways,
executed.
Let's
Yeah, I don't know.
let's move on here. Next up is a reprint. Planar Cleansing. And this card may be
There we go.
more relevant than it's ever been before.
Yeah, planar cleansing is sweet.
Didn't we have Planar Cleansing and the Revelation in standard at the same time, and then we had none?
I don't think so.
I thought we had two different. Whatever.
I can't remember last
hey,
time
look,
we've had
this
planar
kills
cleansing.
planeswalkers.
Yeah, 3 generic white. Destroy all non-land permanents.
Thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I think this is important. It definitely allows for another build of white control that doesn't have to be Planeswalker heavy and can punish the Planeswalker heavy builds, and I think that's super important because the Planeswalker heavy builds are so inbred that you can barely play counter magic in them. Absorb is no longer in the format. Dovin's Veto or Negates are 2/ofs. Like there's definitely room for a more traditional Esper or whatever build you want that can do this and blow out all the Teferis. So I'm happy to see this card. I don't know what else can play this card consistently.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. So last time this was in standard was Theros was around, right? So you had the blue-white control decks that used Elspeth Sun's Champion as
Right.
the finisher. And I remember, I think it was Jim Davis, he kind of popularized a version that played like no detention spheres, probably still played Elspeth, but basically it was like kind of built around
Right.
planar cleansing, not blowing up your own stuff, essentially. So I feel like, a lot of the control decks we see now are very Planeswalker heavy. You're going to have to see some type of shift if you want to incorporate this card. You're not going to want to just take, Esper control, put some planar cleansing.
Oh, well,
and
no.
call it a day. It's not going to work out.
Agreed.
But it's nice that it exists. I mean,
I agree. You can't just. I'm not saying you just take like Esper Control from 4 months ago and then shuffle in some Planar Cleansing and call it a day. But it does suggest that you can put some tensions on deck building. You could even play this out of like maybe a little bit of transformative sideboard if you want to. Like there's some ways you could go.
yeah.
So
it may end up where like, just playing the current versions that play like Elder Spells and whatever else just to clean up random things is the better way to go. But I guess time will tell.
yeah.
I think this card's really good with 3-mana Gideon, right? Because he gets indestructible.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's true.
So that's where I try to figure out that puzzle.
I mean, you're also fine. Like you're probably still fine just playing this with like Narsets in your deck because
they
Narset just sticks
whatever.
to 1, and
Yeah.
then you're like, well, I already got my cards out of this, so who cares? So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what people do with this card.
All right. Next up, we got Raise the Alarm, another reprint. So it's 1 and a white instant. Create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens.
This card's it's playable.
It's always playable.
Yeah,
Granted, the last time it was in the format, it was much better because of Jeskai Ascendancy.
true.
Yeah, we don't have that.
We don't have that.
You still have a green white tokens deck that you can theoretically look into, and
I mean, they're playing like Sapling Migration,
yeah,
which like
can go bigger.
But like
Instant speed is kind of relevant still. So I mean, like it always seems to find a way to be playable.
I think like when you look at these formats. Now, granted, I'm going to say this, and Teferi does make this awkward. But,
Yes, Teferi makes the sorcery speed.
But like against a lot of other planeswalkers that go to one. Being able to just like end a turn, make some guys is pretty powerful. So I think we have to reevaluate instant speed creatures in this planeswalker heavy format. That's all. Next up is another reprint. It is the Rule of Law. 2 generic and a white for an enchantment. Each player can't cast more than one spell each turn. This is Storm Hate.
Rarity downshift as well.
Yeah, I thought it was uncommon once before. Am I crazy?
No, it was rare.
Huh. Why did I think it was uncommon
We
once
need that
before?
Storm Hate for standard.
Yeah,
For these,
I don't know.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, is it Phoenix as a deck?
That is true, I suppose.
Does not want to see this deck. There's a lot of hate for Izzet Phoenix in this.
There really is.
That must have been very powerful in the Future League. That's all that I can guesstimate.
I mean,
and to be honest, it's still very good.
I guess not even Izzet Phoenix specifically, but something like Finale of Promise. It just like
Shuts it down. Yep, 100%.
Rule of Law was printed uncommon before.
Got me.
Not insane. 10th edition. What up?
So yeah, I like this as just another weird reprint that shows up in the set. It might be relevant. It might never ever be relevant. But hey, here it is.
I saw an interesting thing on Twitter today. I think it was Saffron Olive was talking about. There's a lot of like weirdo cards in the set, like Rule of Law. There's not really anything in standard that you need to like hose.
Nope.
But like if they're going to be creating like a standard plus format on Arena,
This is
so
true.
you might want some of these cards
Later?
just
For when they eventually print or storm again, even though they're not supposed to?
Well,
There's
again,
like an
like
Aetherflux Reservoir deck. I don't
Sure,
know.
yeah,
that's
and
fine.
again, is it Phoenix isn't Storm, but also gets hosed by this, and who knows? Like if you reach further back to sets that are still like programmed for Arena, like and make those decks more powerful, then maybe you need something like this.
No, it was just a joke.
So,
It's a little harmless joke. It's
no,
all right.
I no jokes here. We set jokes out of the room.
Come back, jokes.
no, so that actually makes a lot of sense. So like, I'm kind of looking at some of the cards through a different lens now. I'm like, all right, I get it.
That makes sense. Well, explain this one then.
All right, we got
This is another one that was just like meh.
Safara Skysblade.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
7 mana.
a 7-mana angel, so it's 4 white for a legendary creature angel. It's a 7/7 with flying and lifelink. It says you may pay white and tap 4 untapped creatures you control with flying, rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Very specific. Also very odd that you need to pay a white too.
Yeah.
It can't be free. This is standard.
Okay, sure. It also has the text: other creatures you control with flying have indestructible. So there is kind of a flying sub-theme that you'll see throughout the set. There's different cards that work with flying creatures and that don't kill your flying creatures and whatever else. So I don't know, man.
No, limited bomb. I don't think this is playable in constructed. The white mana makes it pretty tough, like to get 4 flying creatures. Like if you already have 4 flying creatures in play, then you're probably fine. We don't have lingering
you
souls
guys
hanging
just play
around.
2 hanged executioners, and then there you go. Turn 5, bam.
I don't know. I also don't understand why she's a compass rose. If you look,
Oh yeah.
She got 4 swords.
go whichever way the sword points. Like, all
Maybe
right,
the swords just spin around her.
she's General Grievous.
Yeah.
I have been trained in your Jedi arts.
Yeah, that was sort of a one that's just like, hey, this is a discount technically for this creature, but
You know, we said that about another creature that has seen 0 play, and I think was easier to set up than this one was. And that's our big Jin buddy from Dominaria.
yeah, I think
So-
we've also distinctly have had a lack of playable artifacts as well.
I mean, but you literally had decks that were playing like the Mox that accounts for legendaries, and like that card was never a consideration.
Yeah, but people were
Do you know why?
playing Planeswalkers.
Because when you tap out all of your creatures and do all these things to put one giant creature onto the battlefield, Teferi Time Raveler says, "Cool turn, idiot! Why didn't you just attack Teferi?"
it's true.
So sorry, Safari.
But if they have vigilance, you could do both. I'm just saying, we can figure it out. We can back this up.
Okay, so we just get intangible virtue back, and we're all good. Yeah. All right. New card, please.
It also appears that, just real quick, this is a loose cycle of legendary creatures with triple the mana in their cost.
Yeah, I'm not counting this one as a cycle. It is a cycle.
It is.
I know, but whatever.
technically.
Morgan missed it.
We snuck that one in there.
Starfield Mystic is our next card. Is a generic and a white for a 2/2 creature human cleric. Enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Starfield Mystic. So, two things I want to point out from this card. One, this looks like a stage production of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat that I have seen. And two, there was a lot of argument on Twitter, and it was settled a couple of times here about so this is a person on Theros in front of this, this sort of, building with pillars, and it has some, I guess some, I don't know. Some carvings into it that look like bolus horns. They're not bolus horns. They are Heliod's symbol. And as we pointed out, it's the same symbol on Heliod's Hall of hilarious and happy, hungry hippos. I had to keep going with the H's once I started. So just it's not bolus was here, bolus lives. It's the Heliod sign that kind of looks like bolus horns, which makes sense because they're both villains. Other than that, I don't know what this card's doing unless we are going back to Theros, because I don't know what enchantments I need to play that get discount, and dear lord, what a weird trigger. When they go to the graveyard, I get a counter? Like, what? So not only do I want them to come to play cheaper, but then I want to eat them. So I guess...
then it gets bigger.
So give...
And then
Ordeals reprinted confirmed?
Then you attack Profit. Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yes, this works well with the Ordeals, Morgan. I did it. I broke it.
There you go. Going back to Theros.
Yeah, I think this. I don't know if this one is either. It could. There's just a lot of bad cards in this set. I don't think this card's playable. Let's move on. Even in that format, unless we get Ordeals, I still don't know that this card is playable. It doesn't have a heroic trigger, so I don't know what it's doing.
It makes your spells less. Your Ordeals cost 1.
All right, cool. So when we bestow stuff again, man, I can't wait to go back to Theros. That block was full of such beloved mechanics.
Shut up, you'll get Elspeth.
Maybe.
Do I get that Elspeth?
Probably not.
No, I didn't think so.
It'll probably be a different Elspeth.
Because here I am complaining about Theros. Theros was very good to me. I get it, okay? But
just over here biting the hand that fed.
Yeah, when it's Theros.
You already got your Temple of Triumph.
Yeah, we talked about that. I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah. We had some good times.
Okay, so what cycle do we want to talk about?
Good call. Let's talk about the temples.
That's a good start. So we're getting the enemy,
Good
the enemy colored Scrylands in this set. So, what is it? Temple of
and just as Morgan predicted. Oh wait, no, the opposite thing. We got nothing else, Morgan.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Well,
how dare you, sir?
I wanted to be excited. I wanted there to be a Mountain Dew get hype moment of course at 2020. There was not. The Mountain Dew did not run it from the street. But we have a Temple of what? Epiphany, Silence,
Melody, Triumph, and Mystery.
Mystery. Yeah. So
they're all good.
Yeah, these were surprisingly good when they were in Standard the first time around. I'm sure they will be good to a varying degree, and they will be even better when we lose 10 playable lands. When
super hot take again. Still don't think these cards are good at rare, and a reprint's only going to make them worth less because they all hovered in the couple of dollar range outside of I think Malady, which jumped up for a while when they were in Standard. But
when they were in Standard, some of them were like $10.
Yeah, the blue red one and Malady were, but those are also the ones.
But that was like Siege Rhino Standard.
Well, they were also in the ones that were open in the set that were open the least. Because that's how they spaced them out. It was like it was like 4. It was like 3 or 4 4 2 or something like that. Like it was weird. So these cards are really really good.
I actually don't. I don't think they're actually going to see much play right now.
Probably
because
not.
You have Shockland and M10 Buddy Lands.
There's something to be said that we do have some pretty mana hungry cards. We do have some decks that we're trying to play like Guild Gates. And those decks that can play the enemy colors can now play Scrylands, which is good for them.
I'm not saying they're not going to see no play, but you're definitely not going to want to have a mana base where you have to keep hands with like Temple into like Glacial Fortress or whatever. Like you know what I mean? Like that's just it's bad enough where that you have to keep hands with multiple like tap lands as it is. So I think like maybe maybe Is It Phoenix will play like 1 or 2 Temple of Epiphanies.
I also think like you have to just consider tap lands a little bit differently in the format. And I hate to keep going back to Teferi Time Raveler, but I'm going to. Like, every tap land you put into your deck, whether they're Scrylands or not, like when you already are at the whim of like such huge tempo swings, but then I couldn't play my 3-drop because of my Scryland, and then I get bounced by Teferi the next turn anyways. Like you can just like lose the game because of tap lands in this format right now with like how quickly the Planeswalkers can roll. So yeah, I think you have to be very careful, not just like for mana considerations, but also just like, can your deck afford to take turns off like this? Because in standard right now, you mentioned there's a couple decks that are like hungry for like gates and stuff, but the only deck that I know that is consistently running gates is
the Gates deck.
Well, you had the older versions of Gruul that were still trying to play Chain Whirler that had to play gates to get enough red sources, but they're not really doing that anymore. And
we
then
still don't even have the red green ones.
And like I said, Simic, which can literally afford to take turns off, or pretty consistently they can cheat that tap land into play with the 2-mana spell. I can't remember off the top of the head.
Oh yeah,
that's one of the most common lines
nice.
is to put the tap land into play. Now that deck is definitely going to play Temple of Mystery.
Oh yeah,
they
play immediately. Sometimes,
but like you just have to be careful. Like you either have to know that you have the time to do it, or like it has to be a deck building constraint. So
yeah, I think you hit it there. I think Temple of Mystery is probably the one that's going to see the most play for now.
Yeah.
Now again, once we lose Shocklands, I would expect these to pick up. I mean, obviously, we don't know what.
We're not going to lose Shocklands for a while, but we are going to lose Buddy Lands in the fall.
The check lands.
Shocklands
those rotate first.
The Ixalan and Dominaria are both going to rotate.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking the other way around.
We'll say goodbye to my favorite sets of all time.
In any case, once we lose one of those cycles of lands, I think you'll see these.
I very much agree. Yeah. You're going to have to. I mean, I'll be honest. Like when I played Boros before, you had Sacred Foundry and Temple of Mystery, or Temple of Triumph.
Triumph, yeah.
All right, move to blue.
Correct.
Okay. So moving into blue, we have, I guess, more weird cards. Is that?
No,
I think you missed a card. We immediately have to add a card. So this is me adding a card in, and that's Agent of Treachery. So I don't know if you know, but there's a deck list going around with this card that's pretty compelling.
Interesting.
So 5 blue for a 2/3 creature human rogue.
What a deal!
When Agent of Treachery,
I know like
there's
it's definitely like a powerful effect. So I'll let you read it.
When Agent of Treachery enters the battlefield, gain control of target permanent. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 3 or more permanents you don't own, draw 3 cards. So yeah, it's weird they call it Agent of Treachery to evoke one of the most powerful mind controls ever printed, and it have nowhere near the mana cost or the effect of that card, but that's fine. I think one of the key things here is like we've seen a lot of these cards that they come in and take a thing. This just takes it. When this dies, you get to keep the thing. There's a couple blue-black shells that are playing like Reanimator style with the new black card we're going to talk about. It's going to Dave's Cube that plays like Stitcher Supplier on turn 1 and a bunch of other things, and you can get this out on turn 4.
You can take lands.
Yeah. You can do a lot of things with this card coming out early. There's a lot of those Planeswalker things I've heard so much about. Those are pretty good to take with this card.
Yeah.
I think if you can find more ways to cheat this card out, which there are definitely going to be a couple ways to do that, this gets pretty good. The other thing here is you can start bouncing with it or flickering, and again, Teferi Time Raveler. But I could see this being like that over-the-top thing you bring in those mirrors where you're just like, oh, you look at your Teferi over there. Well, you can't Dovin's veto this thing, and I'm going to take your thing, and then I'm going to bounce my own agent again.
I think a common thing that you're probably going to see is you wait until their Planeswalker's about to ultimate.
100%.
Then you play this, steal it, ultimate. Probably win the game.
Yeah, it is definitely a thing. So I think this card is powerful. 7 mana is a lot, but the decks that are going to play it are either going to do unfair things with it, or they're going to use it to go over the top in mid-range mirrors.
Anytime you staple a powerful effect onto a creature, you just there's way more ways to abuse creatures with ETB.
100%.
So that second line of text where it's you draw 3 cards, that's just a complete bonus. That's don't judge the card by that at all. Just the fact that I think the main things are it's a creature with a powerful effect, and like you said, a lot of the types of effects we've seen, like Hostage Taker and things like that, it's as long as it's on the battlefield,
right? Or it's an aura, which is the same thing. You destroy the aura, you get your thing back. We have In Bolus's Clutches right now, but you can't play it because of Teferi Time Raveler.
Yeah, this card is super sweet.
Yeah, I think this card is definitely playable. So
Fair enough. I hadn't seen those deck lists, so
yeah, but I think beyond that, it feels like a mirror breaker to me in a lot of decks. So, Dave, now you get to actually start with the first one Morgan suggested.
I took out the
Tempest?
Sphinx. You can just go to
Yeah,
Briarborn. Cutthroat.
You want to talk about the Sphinx?
Do you want to talk about the Sphinx?
I just want to talk about it real quick.
Okay, go
'cause I
for
think
it. 'Cause
I think
I'm going to
I just
build a
think
brawl
it's-
deck with it. So
I think it's funny. I don't think it's good, but it's a Tempest All-Seeing. I think I said that right.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
All right, so it's 3 blue, blue, blue for Legendary Sphinx, 4/5 flying. Has an activated ability of 2 and a blue, tap, draw 2 cards, and discard a card. And then it says, whenever a Tempest All-Seeing deals damage to an opponent, you may reveal your hand. If cards with at least 6 different converted mana costs are revealed this way, that player loses the game. So it's just like you still had all these, and then they lose.
I also think there's a really interesting thing about the wording of this card. It's whenever it deals damage, not combat damage.
Correct.
So you can set up like a sorcerer's wand or something like
Yeah.
that from Dominaria and just ping you. So you don't even have to have the hassle of trying to get through combat. I'm brawling with this card. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be really hard to achieve. Like it might. So first of all, you have to have 6 cards in your hand.
Yes.
That's the first hurdle. Then you need to hit them. Then they need to all be different converted mana costs, which is really hard to do. Like it might sound like, oh, that's not that bad. That's super hard to do.
No, I've played with Zor's Gateway enough to know
Yeah.
that it's not
Yeah.
super easy.
Yes.
Can we just talk about how this card is in the same set as that demon that counts for mana costs but not converted mana costs? Let's just keep torturing people and make it as hard as
Yeah,
possible.
welcome to your core set.
Yeah,
What?
hey, this is our ramping product, ramping you off a cliff.
I
So
feel like-
enjoy the fall.
I feel like the commons that they put in the set were like, like anticipate. It's the card right next to it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, all right. The commons are like, pretty straightforward. Then the rares are just like, what if we did this, stapled onto this, mixed with this? Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
what you're saying is our rares are the 3D blast Doritos. it's like okay, cool. Not okay, like nacho cheese, cooler ranch. Okay, that's cool. What the no? Just God.
I miss those. Those are so good.
All right, next card. Dave, you want to go ahead and do it?
this one for real. Is
Yeah,
it
go ahead.
Brian-born Cutthroat?
Yes.
Brian-born Cutthroat is 1 in a blue.
I know you're saying it right, but it sounds like you're saying Brian Born Cutthroat.
Brian Born.
I really like that. Brian, what have you birthed?
It's a 2/1 Merfolk Pirate with Flash. This is whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Brian-born Cutthroat. This is a pretty cool card. It's like a Snapcaster Mage that doesn't flash things back, that gets bigger sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely incentivizes a play style that I think is bad right now. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Because literally this entire Palooza is about Teferi Time Raveler. I don't know if you know that, but it is odd for them to incentivize a flash based card.
I mean, we've had flash strategies show up in Standard even recently, so it's not unheard of. Now,
We also have Merfolk is still a thing for now.
Yeah.
So
Pirates
But
are
it's not
still
really-
a thing for now.
it is
Merfolk-
that is actually hilarious. It's like wait, I bring peace to the two tribes.
I mean, yeah, it is a Merfolk, but it doesn't really like if you're playing Merfolk, you're mostly playing
Yeah,
on your own turn,
probably.
in Standard right now. But I don't know. It's kind of a cool card. I'm gonna try it out in Cube, but I don't know if it's gonna see Standard play.
It's replacing the Shamble Shark in Battle Box. So
Yeah,
good night, old friend.
It is kind of cool. It's like if you just counterspell somebody on their turn, you just get a counter.
Yeah. All right. Next up, as I'm going through all these, oh, that's it. Nope. Cycles. Drawn from Dreams, 2 UU for a sorcery. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand, and the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is a mixture of 2 cards.
Yeah, it's a mixture of it's a homage to Dig Through Time, which is an homage to
And Ancestral Mystery. Or
Yes.
Ancestral... Not mystery. It's Ancestral Memories. Maybe that's what it is.
Something like that.
The 2 UUU, and you get to look at 7. I don't think this card's playable.
Yeah, I don't think so either. People think
Standard?
People have been talking
This is what
about
you're
it.
doing on turn
Top
4?
7 cards.
I mean, yeah. That's,
You can play. We can play this at instant speed with Teferi, man.
Okay, you know what? You sold me. Sorry, I forgot about Teferi.
You just said it's all about Teferi.
Well, but I don't know. Like this is not where the format's at right now. Like people
No.
are barely even playing the draw 2 right now outside of Civic Nexus.
You're right, but I could definitely see a world where this thing's playable, and that's a powerful
No,
effect.
I could see the world where this is
Yeah,
playable.
yeah.
I don't think it's this standard.
Yeah.
So
May not
maybe
be
that
right now.
shifts and it could see play going forward. But again, people are not playing Chemist's Insight. Are you playing this card over Chemist's Insight in most decks?
I guess it depends on if you're looking for something specific. If you're playing
fair.
like a combo style deck, like maybe Simic Nexus wants this instead of Chemist's Insight.
I
you
don't
could
think
dig-
so.
Yeah, they want
further.
instant speed.
They
though.
want it has to be instant speed. That's the whole point.
That's true.
Because otherwise you can't use your mana effectively. Maybe like a one of. I could see it like as a one of maybe.
Yeah,
I think
because it's something to string with a Tameo.
Yeah, there may not be a place for it right now that we could think of, but I do think it's powerful enough to see.
I don't disagree. It's certainly powerful enough to see play. I was considering it for Battle Box. Like it's just a good draw too. But I think 4 mana sorcery is so much
Yeah.
that I don't know. I don't see it. So next up.
Dungeon Geist? Dungeon Geist. Reprint from Innistrad?
Yeah.
Or Dark Ascension?
Dark Ascension, yes, the second set.
All right, so Dungeon Geist is 2 blue for a 3/3 flying spirit. When it enters the battlefield, you tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Dungeon Geist.
I'll put it on here. Last time it was in standard, it was
Yeah,
played a little bit.
It's awesome
so.
play, yeah. Now, I don't know. I don't think we have any spirit tribal synergies.
We just talked about Hanged Executioner. Just saying.
But yeah,
Isn't the one Spirit Lord still in the last core set?
oh yeah,
Yes.
The 1/3.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is enough to do that.
No,
you know,
yeah.
for 3 months.
I don't think so. But
Yeah, again, it's a good ETB effect. Frustrating with Teferi. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a blue deck that wants this right now, but the card is playable. I think it's still strong.
if somehow Mono Blue can somehow
That's something I'm thinking.
Be playable
People are
still.
going to try to give Mono Blue like one last hurrah with the M20, and they'll probably try it, and it may not still be good enough. But I think there are a couple cards that are going to get people's minds brewing towards that.
I think for this to see a lot of play, you'd have to see the off color shift in the format. The mid range creature decks are all red based in some way,
Yeah.
so like they're all playing Lightning Strike. But if your removal is destroy creature based, then like I like this a little bit more because you can walk up the chain. But like playing this like before you would board this in against those strategies. Well, boarding this in against like red is just a good place to get like bolted, and like maybe that's fine. The strategy is you still board in like deputy detention just to like make them waste a card, but I don't know. It's still powerful. I don't know if I like how this worked out. We added in extra cards, like, and still
Perfect.
I got here. Flood of Tears. 4 blue for sorcery. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. If you return 4 or more non-token permanents you control this way, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So
it's a better Rivers Rebuke, right? Or is Rivers Rebuke?
no, Rivers
instant?
Rebuke is
target.
one-sided.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Rivers
okay,
Rebuke is
fair
one-sided.
enough.
So
Yeah,
no, I wouldn't say that. This card is meant to let you cheat things.
This is like a
yeah.
fixed upheaval.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
how you
bad.
cheat the steel guy. There you go.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Figured it
Like,
out.
Yeah, but then you just steal a land, I guess. Like,
I mean, it's not the
Go
worst.
fine, I
Cool.
guess.
No, people talk about this in older formats where you can put omniscience into play.
that's
you can do that in standard right now, can't you?
Oh gosh,
That's
it was
in the-
omniscience in the
that's
last
in the-
set.
yeah.
Oh god, in
There
the
you
last
go.
core set. Yeah, you
we're talking
totally
about
do
old
it.
formats,
Now I do want to
old
say
standard core sets.
that I was called out by a person who's been on this show, which is Brian Keller. Yeah, I said it. I said your name because you were on this show, and you said that this is me after I draw 3 lands in a row. Well, I've realized something in the last few months playing Brawl with you a bunch. I know where I learned my salt over drawing so many lands. I learned it from watching you, Dad. That's where I learned it from. I think this card's powerful. I think like Rivers Rebuke, which is seeing a little play. I played it at the MCQ. Is better depending on what you're trying to do. But if you are trying to cheat something to play and like you want to get enough time to do it, like I just need to survive to this point so I can get this permanent to play. Well, this card helps you there, I guess. So
trying to think, like, I feel like Ali and Trazi would come up with something crazy with this, with omniscience.
that
you know what I
sounds
mean?
about right.
He's the guy to look to for that deck. So
yeah, fair enough.
I honestly don't know if he's working on that, but no. put Bolus to Citadel in play or something like that. I don't know.
So I just want to go back to what you were saying, Dave. So like Flood of Tears, this is a crazy card. Okay, cool. The next 3 cards: Fortress Crab, Frilled Sea Serpent, Frost Lynx. Like, oh, okay, like normal cards, like core set cards.
Yeah.
And then hardcover, which is I
Hardcover.
hate. God bless it. It's such a bad pun. All right, but I think you're up next with Masterful Replication.
Okay. Masterful Replication is a costs 5 and a blue, so 6 mana instant. Choose one. Create 2 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature tokens, or choose target artifact you control. Each other artifact you control becomes a copy of that artifact until end of turn. Cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
I got nothing.
I don't know much about this card either. I will say, 6 mana making 2 3/3s at instant speed. I think sounds powerful, but of course the card that we pegged to be pretty powerful, which is Commence the Endgame, really hasn't seen play yet, which I think is probably just the better thing you'd be doing at 6 mana. Right, like
What does that do?
you draw 2 cards and then you amass equal to the number of cards in your hand, and that's 6 mana instant. It can't be
Yeah,
countered.
that one didn't really pan out.
Well, it's because the format shook so hard to Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
We go back to Planar Cleansing. But anyways,
Teferi kind of hoses that one too. You have to play it on your
you're
own
not-
turn.
you're not
right? You just
wrong.
bounce the token.
it's weird. I will say the second part of this ability is interesting in a format where you have Saheeli seeing a fair amount of play. You could definitely build a Saheeli based deck where this is your just like straight up win condition, where like you have
Just turn them all into constructs.
yeah, like exactly. Like you're just like, oh, I have 5 guys, they're all Karnstructs now, and here you go, here's 25.
I don't really.
Yeah,
see
it sounds more cute than good, but man, I really do want to win that way now because that sounds awesome.
Well, you're going to build that mono blue deck, so there you go. All you can't play with Saheeli.
Yeah.
Rats.
Oh no, it is. It's
But it's
Oh
red.
no,
yeah.
for Brawl. Wow.
Man.
I'm just gonna say it. Yeah, that this card's not playable.
Yeah, I don't. Disagree.
Probably not. I only put it on there because it's the
Morgan's
first.
Like,
it's-
I was stingy with the list.
It's the first time we see golems, and golems is a subtle theme through this, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
we didn't talk about it, but we had Master Splicer
Yeah.
in white, which is, it's a reprint from New Phyrexia.
Yes, the splicers were.
But it was the only. It's the only. There was a whole cycle of splicers, but that was the only one in this set. So
Yeah, I agree. Before we get to the next card, I want to give a quick shout out to Moat Piranhas for just being a really, in my opinion, cool design.
It's a callback too.
To
isn't it like giant piranha?
There's
Piranha,
a
yeah.
there's a piranha that's it's a 1 in a blue for a 3/3 that you have to pay like a upkeep for.
yeah, I just like the idea of like Moat Piranhas. It just says Defender, so it's just like you fell in the moat. Piranhas gotcha. So
flavor text too.
oh yeah, come on, it's not even that deep. So I thought that was one of those little like small designs. I was like, okay, that's sweet. Next we have Mu Yanling Sky Dancer, 1 blue for a 2 loyalty legendary planeswalker Yanling. +2 until your next turn. Up to 1 target creature gets -2/-0 until and loses flying. -3 create a 4/4 blue elemental bird creature token with flying. -8 you get an emblem with islands you control have tap draw a card, not plus. We talked about this card a little bit last week, and I really think like as a planeswalker design, this is a very strong card. We saw on things like Jace Vryn's Prodigy that kind of a +1 is very good.
Yeah.
The ability to just like stick it on 3, tick it up, and then tick it down to make a thing and then keep going up is great. The problem is it gets a little bit stifled by Teferi. Let's be honest, we talked about it last week.
Bounce token. Yeah.
Like you spent 2 turns to make a 4/4 token that's gone now. So, but I do think like this on 3, just ticking up, working towards that -8 is a fairly interesting like card, and I think it's something we could see in the format because they. You may not even ultimate, it doesn't matter, but like being able to play a deck where maybe you're playing your wrath spells with this, where they can ignore it, but you keep you're going to keep hindering their attack. So eventually they want to commit to the board to get around this plus, and then you could just blow them out. So I like where this plays.
I think it's a cool card. I just don't know. It's kind of weird, right? Because 3 mana planeswalkers used to be like a rare thing. It's like when we got one, it's like ooh. Like,
now we have
what does
so
this one do?
many.
It's so many. Like, and even we have like Teferi. We said it a million times. Teferi. We even have Narset, which is the same mana cost as this, which is like super impactful. and you're always going to get something out of that. Even if it dies, the next turn. I don't know about this one. Doesn't seem very powerful. And
if we had a format where we didn't have the cards you just mentioned, I think this is very, very strong.
Sure.
It feels like an old school, like an older design that we would have said, good, this is a cool design, but is now literally irrelevant because of these uncommon planeswalkers.
Right.
And
it's just
Teferi. Again, I don't know. We'll just keep saying it's the word of the day.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, so you theoretically, I mean, you're only going to have so many planeswalkers in your deck.
Right.
Or like, even if you're looking at your curve, and it's like, are you really going to play this over like an R set?
No, you're probably not.
And you're definitely not playing it over Teferi if you're in those colors, assuming you're blue-white X or whatever. So I don't know.
I think Hero of Precinct 1 hurts this card too, because you want to play this against a deck where again you want them to commit, and Hero of Precinct 1's like, okay, you can give this -2, -0, it's still going to do its job.
Now, like, if this had like just one word on it, that would make this card just way better. Like if the bird got like hexproof or something like that.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
Like then it'd be like, okay, now we're talking.
Like
because you have a threat that's going to actually stick on the board.
Yeah, maybe the Paradise Druid phrasing, like hexproof,
yeah,
as long as it's untapped or something. But
so it's not far away from being good. It's just I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah, or even this is one where they could have had like a static ability that made it work. Right, like obviously you're running out of design space for your actual like abilities, but that's like when you say creatures with flying you control, you have to pay 2 more. Like it's the Kazmina clause or something like that. Or I always think of like the Glass Kites.
The count of the first thing.
Yeah.
What's do you guys know the lore behind? I don't know anything about this planeswalker.
No.
I don't know any lore.
I don't know
either.
for any of the global series.
I don't know how
I know
much
that
lore they were given.
I know that Mo'u is made of rock.
Yes, and that's
made of rock.
Yeah, and that they say it in the book. That's because they are asked, how does Mau planeswalk with them, because you can't take living beings with you. And it was like, oh, Mau is made of rock, and literally, I think it's Gideon who's they say it as if that was supposed to explain everything. This is yeah, he's made of rock. Oh, okay.
And their plane is still at this point in time called I think the plane of Sky and Earth, or Earth and Sky, because the other planeswalker, I can't remember his name at this point in time, but he is
Mau is now the only thing in my head.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what happened to me.
Nope. That wasn't it.
So he's
I would understand that. I was about to say, is it Mu Yanling? And I was like, that's the card in front of me. And I was like, oh, that wasn't it.
Obviously, Mu Yanling is a very Sky flying focused planeswalker, and then
Mo's ground rock.
Yeah.
So, as we move on to our next card, can I just mention, again, I don't know why there's some weird puns in blue, but Octoprofit?
Octoprofit.
Why? What in the world? Who? And it's not even an octopus wizard. They could have made it a cephalid at least.
This is the octopus that correctly guessed the winners of all the World Cup games in Japan. Remember that was a thing? That's that octopus.
But
this is the invitational card.
I want to understand, why isn't this just a cephalid?
I don't know.
I don't know when the last time it did this a cephalid creature type.
But if they're going to do it, you can put it in the core set.
Right, whatever.
We get negate back.
Get a
sweet.
Do you want to talk about Portal Sanctuary?
Yeah, I think we should talk about Portal Sanctuary.
I didn't know if that was
Do you not think so, Dave?
I don't know if it was worth talking about.
Is it not?
It's not good.
Okay, never mind. Then we don't have to. It reminds me so much of Crystal Shard. I just don't know.
But it's not, because. All right.
I
Okay, Portal Sanctuary. It's like a bad Crystal Shard.
Okay, fair enough.
You can't target your opponent's creatures.
The activity
you
only
can't
your
save
turn.
your own creature during their turn. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Yeah. No, I don't want to talk about Portal Sanctuary.
Okay. I mean, it might be a sweet limited card, but
perhaps.
Maybe.
All right. Well, I guess talk about Spectral Sailor then, Dave.
Spectral Sailor.
Ghost Pirate. Also bridging two
they're really
tribes together.
they're really pushing the flying men, So Spectral Sailor is it's cost a blue for a 1/1 flash flyer. That alone's kind of sweet, right?
And spooky.
It also has an activated ability of 3 and a blue draw a card, so it's like Azure Mage.
Yes, the Azure Major out forever.
Yeah.
I'll take the flying
Azure
one that
Mage,
costs
you
less.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one you can put a
Curious Obsession on. Yeah,
yeah,
and you can flash it at the end of your opponent's turn, and
gives you a mana I think mono blue. If that's still a deck, would definitely play this. It gives you a mana sink. You know, you do flood out sometimes with that deck. So
I think it's better than just probably the 1/1 unblockable that they play.
Yeah,
Right
yeah,
now.
yeah. We played
I
like
think
two
it's,
of these.
yeah,
or
it's
whatever.
just an upgrade, I think. So, and again, I put it on here because I think people who want to play mono blue will again give that deck another shot with Magic 2020 and see. This is probably one of the cards they start with.
Gotcha. I guess we'll talk about Tail's End. I think Unsummon's the better card, but just looking at the two. Tail's End is a generic and a blue for an instant counter target, activate ability, triggered ability, or legendary spell.
Just a weird card.
Yeah, it was super weird.
I originally thought this said draw a card after that. I'd be like, oh, that's kind of sweet. And then I went back and read it again. And I'm like,
Like,
oh,
no.
no, it's not.
No, like I think we've seen like Stifle's the kind of card that you've got to be playing something very specific with, and Stifle is so good in older formats because it costs so little.
Yeah.
So adding
Yeah.
another mana to it doesn't really make it more exciting. And yes, you can counter Planeswalkers with this, but it's still pretty narrow.
So my thing is, what was the card that just rotated out? Was it Disallow?
Yes.
Which countered, or you could counter an activated or triggered
Right.
ability, right? And like, how often did that actually come up? It was something that you had to be wary of. Like, if you're going to ultimate a Planeswalker, you'd be like, okay, well, I gotta make sure I play around Disallow.
It
here,
was
you know?
rare.
Right? But
Countered a
didn't
lot
come
of Nissa, not Nissa, but Chandra ultimates. That's
yeah,
Yeah, but to your point, like
That was also
its
just, like, a
baseline
playable
is just
card.
counter
Yeah.
a spell, like
right.
and this does not do that.
So
Not most spells.
yeah.
So if you're thinking like, oh, you know, this would be a great card in the, you know, Esper Mirror or whatever, it's like you could also just play like Negate or Dovin's
Veto,
Veto,
yeah.
and it counters all the things you're worried about. Plus, it counters, you know, the Elder Spell or Command the Dread Horde, or like Thought Erasure, things like that. This is just super narrow. I think if it did say draw a card, I'd be a lot more interested in it. Well, maybe it's too good then. I don't know, but as is, it's a weird rare. Like what? I
Yep.
don't know.
That's why it's weird.
I don't want to open
It's
this
a rare.
card.
It's just like,
So
oh,
if you take
I'm
if
gonna
you
point
take
it out,
anything
put it
away
on
from
here.
this podcast, it's Teferi and weird rares.
Yep.
So all right, well that's blue.
Unsummon.
Yeah, Unsummon's coming back.
Unsummon's good.
Unsummon. It's a card.
Unsummon's the best card in blue.
Another mono blue card.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
looking at the list of cards we looked at from blue, I take it back. I like the treachery, the Agent of Treachery. I think that card is sweet.
Well, plus there's ones in the cycles.
Yeah, no, I get it. Speaking of cycles, we're done with blue, Dave. So pick a cycle.
Let's go with the protection creatures.
All right, protection creatures cycle. Man, you see, you're on a better site than that for me because I've got to go scroll all the
Here,
way through.
I'll scroll up for you.
All right, first one is Apostle of Purifying Light. This is our white protection creature. So it says generic and a white for a 2/1 human cleric. Protection from black. Pay 2 mana to use an activated ability, which is exile target card from a graveyard. So, a little bit of graveyard hate. A little bit of 2/1 protection from black creatures. I don't know.
I think this is probably like one of the weakest ones.
It certainly is. The activated ability isn't the worst. But here's the thing. Black base decks aren't the ones that are abusing the graveyard in standard. And in modern, you're not playing this card.
No.
I mean, you still have like the Command the Dread Horde decks that still exist.
Yeah, those decks play black because of that card, not not for any other things.
Sure.
I don't think protection from black matters against any of the Command the Dread Horde decks.
No,
So
except for
maybe
the-
Sultai, maybe Sultai.
Yeah, Sultai. I mean that's the Command the Dread Horde deck going
Oh,
forward.
I
don't think.
based on what I saw in the Mythic Championship, Esper Hero is the Command the Dread Horde deck.
Sure. But I mean, like that is
you're right. Command the Dread Horde is
named
a
after
card
the
to at least
card.
consider, and there's a card in this set which we're going to talk about in black that I've already alluded to once. So, I think it's pretty expensive for that ability, and
Yeah,
I don't know. I think like I'm going to be honest. It's tough to evaluate what protection looks like in this format because we haven't had it in so long. If there's a deck that's mostly based black that doesn't have a good way to interact, yeah, this comes in and just does a lot of work. But in the format we have, like if blue black mid range, for example, was the deck du jour right now, you know what I mean? Grixis is close to that, I suppose, but doesn't really use the graveyard very much.
yeah, and they have access to like shock.
But they have access to the shock, and they
And
also play
strike.
Infest. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They also play it's not Infest, but whatever Infest
Yeah.
variant it is right now. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the graveyard, the exile of graveyard, it's pretty expensive. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like it, but holding up 2 mana to exile 1 card isn't really. It's not really a deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, when it's good, it's going to be very good. But otherwise,
I think it's one of those things. It's like it might incidentally come up,
right.
But if you're using this as your graveyard hate, it's probably not going to cut it.
No.
Anyway, next one, we got the blue one here. It's a Cerulean Drake. It's 1 and a blue for a 1/1 flying protection from red. And it has an ability of sacrifice Cerulean Drake, counter target spell that targets you. So, it's a nice little card against mono red. I mean, it can hold off
I wish it was a 1/2.
Why?
for.
So it doesn't die Chain Whirler?
It
Okay, it
has a
doesn't.
protection
Still
from
protection.
red.
Ah,
Don't you know how protection works?
no.
No,
Clearly
because
not.
it's a
Yeah.
fairly confusing ability they brought
Yeah.
back in the Ramp-On set. Because whatever. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm repeating
Because
myself.
you're still thinking of like targeting and like it gets around.
No,
that.
no, sure.
Yeah.
I think I like this
Well,
one
that's
a
fine.
fair amount. Like it is a nice little card against mono red. It's not much pressure, but the ability to just like sit back and block and
Yeah,
then counter a critical spell.
It'll quote unquote gain you a lot of life against mono red
Yeah.
by holding back. Like even if
Agreed.
you're just holding back a Chain Whirler, they won't be able to attack with one chain.
I could certainly see this scene play. Like we talk about mono blue being kind of a deck, but this is mono blue plays things like Surge Mare out of the sideboard. Like this this card holds the ground until you want to slap a Curious Obsession on it and go to town, and it gets through pretty consistently. So.
So this is like a strict upgrade to was it Sea Drake or what was it called? Sea Sprite?
Sea
Was that
Sprite,
the old
yeah.
the old school? It was just it didn't have an activated ability. It
That
was
was
just
dope.
1/1
Just 1/1,
flying
yeah.
pro red. I used to play that in Pauper actually,
Nice.
like a while ago.
Oh,
But,
memories. So but yeah, I don't mind that one. I think it's good. Next up is Blight Beetle. It's a generic and a black for a 1/1 insect protection from green. Creatures your opponents control can't have +1/+1 counters put on them. This one certainly has a very relevant line of text because this says, "Hey, you can't explore fully anymore. You can look, but you don't
Yeah,
gain
this
any
card is
experience from
nice.
it."
This card is nice against the Explore package of creatures. that we've seen a lot
It
of.
certainly is. And Pro Green is, I think, a lot more relevant right now when you consider the format in general. Like now, granted, it's awkward because, like, I mentioned before, like the red green based decks having things like, Lightning Strike and stuff. But like, man, like this card looks really good against J-Light Ranger and like Ferox. You know what I mean? Like, just like, oh, cool, block. So, I think this one is definitely good. Now, granted, we'd have to see the format shift back again, but for a little while there at the beginning of this season, the Explore package was in every deck. So if we head back to that before it rotates out, this card's here waiting for us.
Yeah. Are there any other like +1 counters that we really care about, or that
I mean,
should say
Riot
that are
in
super,
general
that are super popular
as a mechanic.
Yeah,
like,
but-
Riot is a mechanic, but then let's get haste, I guess.
That's
Yeah, it
okay.
doesn't really. Okay.
I mean, like it's interesting because we have. I mean, Proliferate is a mechanic that we have in Standard that has not a ton of cards obviously seeing play.
It
but
shuts off the Winmore ability for Shalai.
that is true. It does shut off Shalai.
Kinda.
The
Well,
Winmore
yeah,
ability.
Yeah, like the kind of irrelevant.
Here's the thing: I played that deck in the deck that has 12 mana creatures. I gotta tell you, it's not Winmore. Sometimes it's how you take your little Llanowar Elves, and bring it home.
So this card's frustrating, right? Because it doesn't stop Nissa's activated ability.
It does not because
That's
it puts the counters
frustrating.
on it, and then it's a land.
and it
That's
can't even
frustrating.
block because there's
Wait,
still
wait, hold
lands,
on.
right?
Let me read it. But yeah, we can continue. But let me read.
No, yeah, they're not.
They turn into green creatures.
Well, no, that's well. I mean, no,
Well,
they
whatever.
just
I
become.
don't know.
I don't think they become green creatures. I don't know.
No, they don't.
All right, go ahead and do the next one, Dave.
All right, so now we're getting into the real ones.
Yeah,
The real hoses.
heavy hitters.
All right, so we have Unchained Berserker. It's a 1 and a red for a 1/1 human Berserker protection from white. It says Unchained Berserker gets +2/+0 as long as it's attacking. So this thing's hitting for 3. Probably most relevant is it's immune to Teferi.
yeah. That look weird how that is relevant.
Both Teferis. It's pretty much a house against the mono white deck. Can block anything they got going on there. Can attack through everything in the Esper Hero deck currently. So they can't even block it on its way to killing Teferi.
Unless they're playing Hostage Taker, right?
Yeah, okay, sure. I was thinking Belhaunt.
Tyrant
Yeah,
Scorn
yeah.
is also a thing.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the hero versions are playing a lot of that card. So just saying, I
Yeah,
think it's still
it's
good.
not completely, but it's pretty good against a good portion.
No,
of
I
it, sure.
agree. Like this one, we have a couple cards in here that are quote unquote Teferi killers, but this is This is the one that feels like yes.
This is one of those things where it's like it feels like Esper is favored against Mono Red currently, but it doesn't take much to kind of tip it back into Mono Red's favor, and this might be the type of card that kind of tilts that matchup. Maybe even if it's just post sideboard.
Yeah. Last up is Shifting Ceratops. 2 green for a 5/4 creature dinosaur. This spell can't be countered. Protection from blue. And that has an activate ability. Green. Shifting Ceratops gains your choice of reach, trample, or haste this on a turn.
It's important this is a rare.
Yeah, just why?
So can we talk about
all the
those
other ones
three,
are like 1/1s?
those 3 abilities combined? Like haste and trample I get. Reach is defensive. I actually don't understand. Like I know get it has protection from blue, so you block the flyers. I get it, but like it's like it attack, it protect. Like
it's a meme. Yeah, it's the memeosaur. We get it.
I also have to look up the name Ceratops because I'm fairly certain that you can't just take the tri off of it and like it still be a Triceratops. Like it definitely is just a Triceratops, but like Ceratops works.
See, the horns are bent though, so.
I hate you.
It doesn't just have...
Oh, Nicol Bolas confirmed.
That's why this dinosaur is so powerful. He's felt the touch of Nicol Bolas.
It actually looks like it has a sliver coming out of its head. Is what's happening. It's just like, this is why you gain all these abilities. This card is disgusting, and this just comes down and gets haste. It just blows everyone out of the water. I don't know. So
we've come a long way with the protection creatures. Just compare this to like
Scragnoth.
Which is a really old... It's an old card from Tempest, and it was just a 5-mana
3/4
protection from blue, 3/4. I don't think it could be countered.
It could not be countered.
I think that was like one of the first cards that actually had the text "cannot be countered" on it, and it was like, oh man, what's blue gonna do about this? And now it's like, yeah, give it haste, kill your planeswalker. Like,
can't bounce it with a fairy.
Yeah, so still can get mortified, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like
Vraska's Contempt can kill it. There's ways to get around.
There's obviously ways to kill it, but like it's. I mean, it's just so wild to be like, oh, this is actually just we had to make this a rare for it to be like good.
All the other ones that were like, Cerulean Drake, it could block for a while. This one's just like you're gonna kill you in 3 turns. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, those were the protection creatures. I'm glad those are a thing. Let's move to black. And we finally get to talk about this card that I've been alluding to. So hit it, Dave, with Blood from Bones.
Blood for bones?
Blood equals bones. Blood is bones.
Blood is that. I don't think that's accurate, but
I went to the doctor. He said blood is bones. So
first off, get another sweet Seb McKinnon art.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Before we get it, I just want to give a shout out to Blood Burglar.
You're Blood Burglar?
for just being Voldemort.
No, that vampire has a nose.
Well, almost Voldemort. Okay, Voldemort before he got his nose done messed up.
That card also throws out a bunch of vampire lore for the sake of a common. So I don't know if that really works. Hey, the whole thing about vampires going to be invited in? It was a lie. No, it wasn't. Shut up.
Anyway, Voldemort. Voldemort confirmed.
Have you interviewed a vampire? Because Tom Cruise didn't interview a vampire, or did. I've never seen the movie. I just know he's in.
This is the second Harry Potter character in this because we're going to talk about Soren later on, and he's
definitely Lucius Malfoy.
He's Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah,
correct.
All right. Anyway, the card we're talking about here, Blood for Bones.
Blood for Bones.
Blood equals bones.
It's a sorcery. It costs 3 and a black. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature. Return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then return another creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's kind of a fixed Victimize. So Victimize was the 3-mana... Fixtimize. Yeah, it was a 3-mana version of this that put 2 creatures from... you sacked a creature and then put 2 creatures into the battlefield.
Yeah, it's very broken.
So this one is probably a little bit more, standard speed. So it definitely is, it's... couple hoops to jump through. You got to have a creature in play to even be able to cast it. And then, you're going to want to have 2 creatures to target in the graveyard when you cast it.
Unless I'm crazy, we do have Reassembling Skeleton also in Standard. So I can make sure you have a creature in play. But yeah, this was a card that was the blue-black shell that was I seen on Twitter that was, and I apologize if you're like screaming for, like, you did this. I don't remember your name, and I didn't like your tweet. And I should have. I'm sorry. But I've seen a couple of people like talking about brewing with this card specifically, but like Agent of Treachery or other things you could cheat into play. This is a powerful card.
So an interesting thing about this, I just kind of read the wording of it again. So a major difference is Victimize. You need to have the targets in the graveyard when you cast it. This one doesn't actually target anything in the graveyard, so you could actually return the same creature that you sacked.
Yes.
So if you do have the card that can steal things, you could just sack that and then put it back into play.
Yes, that is also true. That's why it works so well with the supplier, because you can sack the supplier to this and get to see the cards.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
pretty nice.
yeah. The card's great, and I think like may lead to an actual like. We haven't had a res strategy since what? Barrow Rights? That's not true. Rally of the Ancestors technically was that, but that's
Rally,
a combo deck.
Yeah, a traditional like reanimator strategy would be
I guess
junk rights.
Yeah, it's just a Barrow Rights. Yeah. So
Yeah, they have to be careful.
Don't
about
tempt
those
me with
things.
like there being don't do that to me. Don't
mean,
put that on me.
I
I already the Grafdigger's Cage is literally in this set as well as Leyline of the Void. That
Yeah.
can't happen,
but
right?
you also have like 5-mana ooze that's pretty good.
Stop it. It's not.
5-minute ooze.
Don't
the
trick me
game
with
really
that.
quick.
But it's biogenic. It may not be acidic.
It ain't
it's biogenic.
acidic. Acidic or bust for me.
So, wow, all right, fair enough. Next up is a pretty sweet reprint. This is Bone Split. No, that's not the one. Disfigure is a single black for an instant. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Gotta tell you, I've cast a lot of Disfigures playing Pauper over the last couple of years. But this card's just great. Very efficient. Does what you need it to do. Considering some cards that have been pretty problematic in the format, like Adanto Vanguard. Nice to just see a card. Moment of Craving's fine, but man, that 1 mana is nice.
Yeah, I mean this card is Black's shock, and when you're looking at things like Hero and Adano Vanguard,
The Black Shock.
yeah, obviously you can't go face, so but
Yeah, I
whatever.
think hitting Planeswalkers is more relevant.
In this particular format, you might be true.
I do think
You might be right.
Yeah, I think Disfigure is a great card. It did see a lot of play the last time it was in Standard, and yeah, I think like the decks that are playing Moment of Craving will likely move to playing this.
Just efficiency.
Yeah.
The life might be relevant. I don't know, but
I like how this card works with Dreadhorde Arcanist too, for what that's worth.
That's
So,
true.
I think it's interesting. But just a solid card, and we're getting a sweet F&M promo of that one, of Disfigure. So, also Duress. I'm assuming we're talking about Dread Presence, though.
Yeah. For the record, I think they're just going to put Duress in like every set.
Good. I'm glad.
Because when it wasn't in Standard, everybody was just like, man, if we just had Duress.
Yeah,
And they're like,
It's
all right,
a-
we
it's-
heard you loud and clear.
it's an important safety valve unless they
Absolutely.
get really wild and be like, oh, we're going to put Thoughtseize in the format again, which they probably
Yeah,
won't
They're
do.
allowed to do that.
They probably won't do that ever
Um,
again.
And like I mentioned earlier, they have Negate also in the set. So it's like those are the two cards that's just always like,
Yeah.
all right, things
With
aren't
the-
going to get too wild.
These need to be omnipresent.
Yeah. That's okay. I'm totally fine with that.
All right, so talk about Scary Christmas. Dread Presence.
Scary Christmas, man.
No, just saying, Dread Presence.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't want them.
I think there's something dead in one of those.
Yeah. All right. Dread Presence is a 3 and a black 3/3. It's a creature nightmare. Whenever a swamp enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. Draw a card and lose a life, or it deals 2 damage to any target and you gain 2 life. Yeah, it's a weird card.
We did it. No, it's a nightmare. This one's a nightmare. It looks like
Yeah.
a weird. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but it's a nightmare.
Nah, it's still weird.
not
I mean,
nightmare.
we still have Scape Shift in Standard.
Yes.
If you want to do something funny, I guess. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
this
good.
is. I think there's a better escape shift win condition that makes more sense
Yeah,
in this set.
yeah.
But yeah, I pointed that. I was like, oh well, I just go get a bunch of swamps and that's it.
And it doesn't have to be a basic swamp, so I guess the shock lands still
Yes.
They
count
do still
too.
work.
So I don't know. It's a 4-mana 3/3.
Yeah,
and
it being a hill
not-
giant does not help it.
Yeah,
Like there are cards in the format that suggest that mono black could be playable, but I don't think they're good enough. So
we still have the one from Dominaire.
you have
Cabal,
Dread Shade, and then you have Cabal Stronghold as
Cabal
well.
Stronghold. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's going to be competitive, but it's.
I mean, we had some builds of mono black pre Ravnica, but that's about it. So, but interesting card. If it stays on the battlefield, it does gain a lot of advantage, and it can hit planeswalkers with its trigger, which is pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like strategically, it's almost like it costs 5 mana, right? Because you're going to want to like play it and then play a land,
Right.
and then you might not even have your 5th land. I don't
No,
know.
I
man.
don't think it's
a
good
lot
enough. No.
It's a lot to make this guy kind of okay.
Yeah.
But if you get them in multiples, I mean, they might be sweet.
Next up is Embodiment of Agonies. 1 black for a 0/0 creature demon, flying death touch.
Man, 0/0 death touch. That stinks.
This card isn't very good anyways, but Embodiment of Agonies enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each different mana cost among non-land cards in your graveyard. For example, 2 generic and a black and 1 generic black are different mana costs. So this is what I was alluding to when I said
This card's
that,
weird.
yeah, I shouldn't say it's just like not good enough, but it's not good enough. I don't know. Like you have to,
I think you're wrong.
I mean, yeah, I could be wrong. You sit your supplier like early drops, you can get cards in your graveyard, but
I mean, you literally talked about a deck that was like recursion and doing all this stuff.
yeah,
I think like
I didn't picture that deck in my mind and go, okay, what are the different mana costs in all these cards, and how can I quickly put them in my graveyard? Oh, by the way, lands don't count as anything.
This reminds me of another card that people kind of overlooked at first when it first came out. Tarmogoyf. Now, I'm not saying it's as good as Tarmogoyf.
There it is. Dave just said this card's Tarmogoyf 2. Print it. Put it on posters and t-shirts. Tarmo 2.
But what I'm saying is...
Make it sticker slap of all your M20 boxes. Now contains Tarmogoyf 2.
It has a weird ability that we haven't seen before, so it's hard to kind of think about like how good that could be.
I don't disagree, but... the most common card in a deck to go to a graveyard is land. By percentage-wise, it's land. Tarmogoyf always counts land. It's good old friend land.
Sure.
This card never will. So you have to build with this card in mind, or you just hope you get enough different things at the same time. I just don't understand.
If you're doing things like playing Stitcher's Supplier already, you get a little bit of value there. I don't know. It may end up being not good enough, but I think it could easily be, 3 mana, 5/5.
And again, I know that you weren't making a true comparison, but you did open the door. Tarmogoyf also sees things later. So, like, the people who always try to lightning bolt the 2/3 Tarmogoyf only make it a 3/4, and they're like, why did that happen? Well, this thing is never getting past 2/2 because it entered the battlefield with counters. So it's still dead.
Right.
So when do you
the
cast this
comparison
card?
wasn't so much power
Apt.
level.
It wasn't apt.
It's just that Tarmogoyf was a weird card when it first came out, and it was hard to evaluate.
Okay, I will give you that, but I think
So that's where I'm at. Obviously, it's not as good as Tarmogoyf, but
I
think it could be better than you think.
Especially in standard. Like in other formats maybe where you can really, again, sure, play this in the Hogak deck because you got a lot of cool CMCs there. You've got 1, 2, 3, and 8. So
Who do we appreciate?
Hogak. But I think like when you look at standard, like I can't conceive scenarios where I'm casting this on 3 and being happy about it. And so then
that's the thing. Maybe you're not casting it on 3.
Sure.
Maybe you're playing a control deck that's like,
then you're hoping that you would cast it much later, and then for any number of reasons your graveyard didn't line up. You have multiple copies of the same cards in it.
Sure.
I think you have to do so much. There's so many other cards that are consistently better by the time you'd want. Like by the time I'd want to cast this card in standard, I could be playing which dragon is it? That's Esper. Why can't I think off the top of my head? You have it for Brawl. Wow. I'm going to tell it later.
Chromium?
Yeah, thank you.
Chromium.
Like, so by the time in a control deck where you'd want to cast this card to maybe make it worth it, I could cast Uncounterable Chromium that probably will never die.
Okay. What about this?
Okay.
It has Death Touch.
Next card. Okay.
No. Like you could run this out as like a 1/1, trade with something.
Okay.
Play the next one later,
and then your
maybe
next
as like
copy
a 4/4.
has a new CMC in the graveyard. All right. Now we're cooking with Goyf gas.
All right. Time will tell. We'll see.
You're not wrong. Time will tell. I am fairly confident that this is a very average Magic card. I'm not calling it unplayable. I'm just saying that you invited comparisons to Tarmogoyf, and I don't think that's going to work out well for you. If we're going to bad dodgeball references.
I just think you could try to supercharge the graveyard, or you could just play Magic. Right? You could just play Magic and then maybe not on turn 3.
I would need to see what the construction of the deck is, because that's not even true of like a lot of decks. If you're playing a bunch of 4-ofs, then you have to check your mana costs. Like
you play Command the Dreadhorde, man. Not Command the Dreadhorde. What's the Dreadhorde? What's the one that does 4 damage and then
Enter the God Eternals?
Enter the God Eternals. That's one.
Yeah, I could play a good Magic card and then maybe
play that and then
make this card into Goyf 2. All right. Next up, Knight, man, I missed having fun with these kind of arguments on here. Knight of the Even Legion. This is a black for a 1/2 vampire knight. Has an activate ability, 2 generic and a black. Knight of the Even Legion gets +3/+3 and gains death touch until end of turn. At the beginning of your end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, put a +++ counter on Knight of the Even Legion.
Is it Eben?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Eben.
Eben. I don't know.
yes.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Eben.
You know what? That's
Like
that's
Eben
honestly
flow.
that's what, literally from like I being a little kid the first time we like did this, like when it was middle school or whatever, just being like Knight of the Even Hand. Eben.
I just put on here. It's another 1-drop knight.
No, I think this card's fine.
Now, is this a throwback to like the Eben hand?
Yeah, that would be who it is, right? It'd be the same group, ostensibly.
I
I'm sure.
don't want to have spoilers, but it doesn't look like they have a good time. Because the
No.
next card, because it's Legion's End, and he's not Knight of the Avid Legion. I don't know if that's about. I don't know if it's the same Legion, but I don't think I want to be part of this
Knight of the
team.
Eben Legion. But that one's a sore subject. No.
Terrible.
I think, like, as far as I don't know where it's at. I get. There's a red black aggro deck there somewhere that features the what's the zombie, the 1/1 from War of the Spark. It's like Dreadhorde something. But whenever it dies, it deals damage equal to it has a slith mechanic.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
But between that, we have a number of cards that could equal to with Gutter Bones and a couple other things. And this card, I think, as a 1-drop that has a pretty good ability. I mean, becoming a 4/5 that has Death Touch. That's not nothing. And I think like it can jump up to smack some planeswalkers around. I don't know. I think it's a solid card.
And I don't know, like we always thought that like White Black Knights was going to be a thing, and for a little bit, like there was
It is a knight. This is true.
So it has a lot of built-in synergies. You're getting another dual land. It's obviously not the dual land you want, but I'm just saying, like looking at a possible like last hurrah for some of these archetypes that we thought were going to be
or
things.
vampires, just like
True.
by itself.
True. So there's a lot of avenues that you can take with it.
Okay, I know I said
Avenues.
even.
Lots of avenues you can take
Sorry,
with it.
take those avenues.
All
right.
Starting to get to this point, huh?
No, I think we're okay. We're good. We're
Yeah.
gonna recover. Bouncing
All right.
back. Legion's End.
Really talking about this?
What?
It's a weird card.
It's a
This is
weird
a
card.
good card.
We talk about weird cards.
You don't think it's a good card?
Legion's End.
Okay.
1 and a black, sorcery. Exile target creature an opponent controls with converted mana cost 2 or less, and all other creatures that player controls with the same name as that creature. Then that player reveals their hand and exiles all cards with that name from their hand and graveyard. It's pretty narrow.
It certainly is narrow, but I think you'll always find some creatures that it's worth casting on. And as Morgan, I don't know if did you say this in the cast last week? Did we make the Nissa point there?
Oh yeah, this
This does kill lands.
yeah. So if you have to diversify your named your animated
It does
land.
not say non-land. Yeah, read that. We had to read it a bunch of times. This kills lands. This kills animated lands.
Yeah, but it doesn't kill like all the. I mean, if they animate a bunch of like breeding
Forests?
pools, I guess like just all breeding pools,
Or
and
all
you can kill all
forests.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it doesn't kill the not creature versions.
No, it
No.
doesn't do that. No, that would be
No.
obscene.
Yeah,
if you
that'd
can just,
be
like, hit
weird.
One
That'd be-
forest,
that'd be
they'll hit
absurd.
the creature forest and then exile all their actual forests.
Yeah, but if they have lands in hands, it takes them.
Yeah, it does do that.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I think this card is fairly interesting. I think, again, Dante Vanguard is one that's always sticks out in my head, but like some of these sturdier 2-mana threats, having a way to deal with a lot of them is pretty good.
No card's more interesting.
But
The demon.
I-
Embodiment of agonies. It's
I
more
think-
interesting than this card.
here's the thing. I think that Legion's End does exactly what you want it to do, which may be middling, but it does exactly what you want it to do. I don't know. I'm going to go with the boat. You can take the mystery box. It could be anything.
I think like this would be just off the top. I think it'd be cool to hit like night tokens from History of Benalia.
Yeah.
I guess is kind of cool.
That'd be good.
Yeah, so like you can beat like the multiple history draw.
Right.
That usually is pretty hard to beat, but it's still pretty narrow.
It's true. This also does something pretty cool with Paradise Druids. If one of them is tapped, it can get all of them.
Yep.
Got him.
I mean, yeah. So again, it has its uses, and I think in other formats it can have uses as well. Especially when you're considering things like Unearth now entering the format and seeing some play. So
That's true.
We're talking about modern now.
I think that card is playable in Modern. Yes.
This Legion's End
Yeah, I think it's Modern
for
playable.
what?
I don't know, but I just think it's it's
Man,
Modern
I don't
legal.
know. It is modern
It's
legal.
modern legal.
You could play this card.
Hey, I didn't call this this removal spell Path 2, so back off, bud.
This does hit Death Shadow though, right?
Yeah, it does hit Death Shadow.
That's fine.
So, which is the kind of card I was thinking of for
Kills Tarmogoyf.
it does kill
That does kill
Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf.
It doesn't kill. It doesn't kill Tarmo too. So,
Boom. Gotcha.
God, Demogoyf. Oh my gosh! Next up, let's talk about a bad vanilla rare.
Bad vanilla rare. Oh, the 7/6.
Yeah, Rotting Regisaur. 2 generic and a black for a 7/6 creature zombie dinosaur. At the beginning of your upkeep, discard a card. Nothing says standard playable to me than me casting this and my opponent ferrying it back to my hand. If I'm lucky, I got to discard a card and attack into their hero token as well, because then I'm really winning everything.
Then you're really doing it.
I don't know. I guess there's a deck that this is good in. Nope.
I
don't
put on
think
here
so.
because like people were talking about it when it was released.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
People are like, wow.
it's splashy. It's a 7/6 for 3 mana, but I don't think they made a mistake here. I think it's still just bad.
No. Yeah, I'm not saying like
Again, this is like one of those what's the Frosted Mini Wheats commercials, right? I don't know if you remember those from but they had like the adult in me likes the fiber, but the kid in me likes the sugar. Like the adult in me says bad magic card, but the kid in me is like big zombie dinosaur. That's where I'm at.
I feel like this is the kind of card like 10 years ago. This would have been like the marquee card in the set. To be like,
It's
man,
like,
remember Grinning Demon? Wait until you see 3 mana
oh my
7/6.
God, yeah, Grinning Demon
It's
was the face of Onslaught.
Yes.
That and Blistering Fire Cat. Don't
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah. Well, that card was actually pretty good.
It was for a time.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, it's costed like Serendipity Free. It must be Serendipity Free, right? Like, I mean, like in limited, this is the Abyss. So there's that, I guess. But
Yeah. I mean, in limited, you can play out your hand and then cast this. So it's like you're not really
right.
losing much.
I mean, and you could certainly build a standard deck that is okay with the discard. And we mentioned Gutter Bones and
like, there are plenty of ways that you can
Reassembling
make
Skeleton,
make
I
this
guess.
not a downside.
Agent of Treachery, and then you can bring it back.
The Sanitarium Skeleton, the next card on the spoiler here.
But
No,
I
don't
don't know.
play
I
that
just
one.
don't think this card is good enough.
Probably
Okay.
not, but again,
What about as a way to discard your big thing and then you cast the Blood from Bones?
So yeah, Blood equals Bones.
Blood
Blood equals Bones.
And then you can bring back another Rotting Regisaur.
Roging?
Raging
Who
Regisaur.
framed Roging Regisaur?
Watsy
All right.
did. All right, next up is a card I actually like a lot.
Actually,
Oh, crap, I gotta
I
get
want to
there.
go back to Blood Equal Bones because the name of that card should actually be Blood in Bones Out.
Blood equal Bones.
Blood and Bones out. Yeah, Blood equals Bones, man. Blood equals Bones is my favorite Bone Thugs and Harmony record. It is so good.
Anyway, moving on. We're gonna do some scheming.
Are we Scheming Symmetry, which is a card that I'm surprised that they printed.
Yeah, same here,
Costs
right?
a black for a sorcery. Choose 2 target players. One of those you can target yourself, and
You are a
if it-
player,
yeah,
this is true.
yeah. Each of them searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it. That's it. Yeah. So it's a 1 mana tutor. Now, you have to work for it a little bit, obviously. Like this is probably I don't want to say it's not going to see standard play, but it's probably less likely to see standard play.
I don't think it's that hard to just make it purely one-sided.
Right.
And I think that, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I agree with you. Like, I think tutors in general aren't as good in standard because, like, the targets are, like, your target has to be very good. But in other formats, where you can ensure you have access to your card first, or probably your opponent never has access to the card that you gave them, I think this is very good.
So, like, if you have Ashiok in play, this is pretty sweet, right?
No,
that not
they
work?
still get to search. It's only. Am I crazy right there?
Okay, yeah, it's because you're doing the effect.
You're causing them to do
but
that. They can't cause
you could,
themselves.
You
to
could do
search.
it and then minus Ashiok and make them
Oh
mill
no,
it.
that still works. Yes, in standard you can.
You could do that in standard.
You can Field of Ruin them.
Yeah, you could do
You can use Teferi to cast this at the end of turn
Yeah.
and do that. You have multiple ways to draw a card on your turn, so that's not even very difficult. It's certainly you can certainly play it, and there's multiple cards that would make it one-sided either way, or multiple ways to make sure you get to see it first. I think I don't know. Just for 1 mana, it's very strong.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's 1 mana, so you got to work for a little bit, but I mean it doesn't get much cheaper than that. So I also mentioned the artwork too.
I
Seth
really like
McKinnon.
it. Yeah,
This reminds me. It's almost like a Suicide King from from just a deck of playing cards.
Yep.
You talk about symmetry. It's kind of cool, I guess.
no, it's really cool. I like it. All right, next up is Lucius Malfoy, Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. If you've not seen any of the films, I'm just saying, go look up a Lucius Malfoy picture. It's Sorin. It's who it is. 2 generic and a black for 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker Sorin. +1 target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. If it's a vampire, put a +1/+1 counter on it. +1, you may sacrifice a vampire. When you do, Sorin Imperious Bloodlord deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. -3, you may put a vampire creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So we talked about this last week. I think I really do like the design on this. Again, another card that's sort of experimenting with what an ultimate is. With a dedicated vampire deck, this card is very powerful because all 3 abilities are
Relevant.
It's relevant and powerful. The -3 is probably when you talk about vampires. Again, there's not a ton of vampires you want to just like cheat in, but we mentioned I think Vampire Nocturnus being a card that has seen modern play multiple times, and good.
I was gonna say, I mean, I think you're right. Like, if you're just thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna put this giant vampire into play.
Just putting a vampire into play is good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you think about just getting to like double spell,
Sure.
it's almost like you get to double spell
You
it,
get to
or
play
even
Sorin
triple
into this.
spell. Yeah,
No, trust me. I agree with that. I'm just saying like when you look at that, like it isn't like other play. Like you would look at I think a green planeswalker with that ability and be like, ooh, what can I put into play? Whereas vampires are a little bit different. But no, I agree. Getting a double spell is very good. But we mentioned as well. This with Dante the First Fort is 4 mana Lightning Helix every turn. So there's that. I think like as long as we have these Ixalan vampires hanging around, this card has a chance to see some play, and is a very narrow but I think a pretty powerful 3 mana planeswalker.
this reminds me a lot of the Liliana that was in the last core set. It was like very zombie focused.
I think we mentioned that. Yeah,
where it's like, it goes in this specific deck, but it's really good in this
and
deck.
for 3 months it's legal and standard.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think the difference though between that, like, it does feel like this sword with like the -3, I think is just where you're looking at initially. I think, right? Because that Liliana didn't have a way to effectively like protect itself initially. I don't think.
I mean,
I can't remember.
Does this have a way to protect itself without?
Yeah, if you have a vampire.
Yeah, but okay. If you have a vampire, but that's not what protecting itself means, right? Don't we judge that by like the planeswalker is able to create something that protects itself? Am I crazy? Is that not how we judge protection?
I mean, it puts a vampire into play to protect itself. I guess you have to have one.
That's not what it means. That's not what that means.
I'm just saying it has a way to immediately impact the board. I'm not sure.
Yes, that is different from protecting.
I'm not sure if the Liliana was the same way. I can't remember her
I
abilities.
remember what it did. I just remember it had
Because I don't think
so
it referenced zombies a lot.
Yeah,
it was good.
Was
if
it
you had
Liliana?
zombies.
Was it Untamed by Death? Was that the one?
I don't know. There's been so many Lilianas.
Untouched by Death.
Untouched by Death was.
Let's see
I'm
here.
trying to think. Are there any like big vampire? Is there any like skeletal vampire type card?
It was, -3. You can cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn, but you had to pay 4 mana to get to the Lily, so it was not the same. But that one could -2 target creature gets -X on a turn for X number of zombies you control, so it had a similar.
Fair enough.
It can affect the board if you already have board presence.
Same thing with the Sorin.
That's what I say. Yeah, so that is similar.
So they're the buy box promo. One of the buy box promos is a big giant vampire. It's not giant, but it's impactful.
Yeah, it is a thing.
It's a 6 mana vampire. It's like a 4/4 flyer. You also have an O-ring vampire.
That's true.
I forgot about the gold cards. There's a lot of like gold weirdo cards.
Yes, that is true as well.
All
right.
Cool.
Next up, Thought Distortion.
Thought Distortion. Is this the Mind Twist card?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
All right, so it's Thought Distortion
Also
is
a face twist.
it's a face twist. It's a 6-mana sorcery, so it's 4 black sorcery. The spell can't be countered. Target opponent reveals their hand. Exile all non-creature, non-land cards from that player's hand and graveyard. So this is similar to the card that I can't remember the name of, but it was like a black-white sorcery from Alara Reborn. You know what I'm talking about? It was basically just like exile somebody's hand and graveyard. Now, this obviously has some limitations, but it can't be countered.
To be fair, not there might as well be a billion things in this format that say can't be countered because no one's playing counter spells. But the format might change, and
This is the
that
type
line
of
of
card that
text
you
might
would
be
want.
relevant.
Yeah, this is the type of card you would want to say can't be countered. Because you don't want to invest 6 mana and just be like, well, you know what? Negate.
Correct.
It's pretty bad.
This card, so obviously Teferi has made counter spells pretty relevant, but this card at draw step sucks for your opponent.
Yeah.
Like, cool, draw, gone. Most of your hand is gone.
No, I think this card is sweet. I mean, it's obviously it's going to be pretty format dependent. You know, obviously if there's a lot of aggressive decks, you're not going to be able to main deck
Yeah,
this. But
I mean, yeah, this is a sideboard card.
it might be okay sideboard card, yeah. But I mean, if we do see it as like a very, you know, like we saw at the Mythic Championship, a lot of Esper decks. You know, if you expect a big percentage of the field to be Esper mirrors and things like that, this might be the type of card that's like can get you an advantage. Now, it might not be as good as Command the Dread Horde, but
yeah,
you know.
3 out of the top 4 play decks of the Mythic Championship play 10 or less creatures. The Izzet build depends, but you're playing 4 2-drops depending on what those are, 4 Phoenix, and then a couple Crackling Drakes, maybe a God. You know what I mean? Like, you're probably fine with there. And then, you know, the hero builds of the deck were 7 creatures, 4 hero, 3 Guard Mage, and then I didn't say Scale Guard, so proud of myself.
Yeah.
And then the Esper control variants, some of them had 3 Bell Haunts, but most of them had no creatures. So, yeah, you had like the top huge percentage of what the field was that would probably not like to see this card. So,
Wonder if you can set up some kind of weird scenario where like you get to play the was it Drown in Tears? Was that the name of that
Flood
card?
of Tears.
Flood of Tears.
Yeah, Flood of Tears into this.
Like you do the end of turn with Teferi, and then you just like do this. You're
But
just
like, that doesn't do anything, right? Because like, well, I guess like
No, you
I
put all
guess
this stuff back in their
Planeswalkers-
hand
I guess
and then-
Planeswalkers, yeah. Because
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking if you bounce creatures, it wouldn't
No.
matter. But yeah, okay,
Enchantments,
fair enough.
artifacts,
Yeah, enchantments. Yep, all those artifacts we talked about.
all those
Yeah.
other non-creature permanents,
No, I guess the problem
non-land,
here is
non-creature
like,
permanents.
you know, if you're worried about something like Nexus, right? They're still going to have, you know, probably a Search for Azcanta down or a Wilderness Reclamation. So it doesn't get rid of those.
I mean,
Just
yeah.
This card,
yeah.
I mean, it comes down.
I guess
with
I was
6 mana.
it's still thinking in the scenario where you bounce everything back to their hand.
No, just playing it out.
That magical Christmas
So
lands.
it might be a little too late at some
Sure.
points. So I mean, I could see it being too slow for sure. But I mean, the effect is there. I mean, and it's possible that the graveyard could matter. You know, the exiling the cards from the graveyard could
Yeah,
matter.
it's
as well,
also fair.
so.
All right, next up is Villas, Broker of Blood. You know, everyone said that, you know, accountants are demons, but this is a legit one. He literally has a little like thing, like type it up. 5 black. There we go. For an 8/8 legendary creature, demon has flying and an activated ability of play a black, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Damage causes loss of life.
I mean, if you want something big
that's an ability.
to bring back, this guy's pretty big, and yeah, the ability is good.
Yeah, this is
Still gets bounced by Teferi though.
you're definitely not wrong there. Yeah, I don't know if this is something I want to be paying an 8-mana investment for in standard, but
No, you just recur it with the
yeah, if you can
with
cheat it in
blood
the play,
equals
then
bones or
maybe that's where it's
whatever.
at. But I don't know. There's a lot of decks in the format where that ability is worthless, so I don't know.
No,
Nice,
I think it is
nice
important.
rotting Regisaur idiot.
it is important to point out that you can target itself.
Yeah.
So if you have nothing
No,
else to
that's
target, you
true.
can still draw some cards, I guess.
Yeah, I think like you
Basically, Gristle.
every time you activate that ability, you draw 2 cards, so that's interesting. So
This is
it's
like
basically
the way,
Grizzlebrand.
This is the way fixed
My
Gristle Brand.
gosh, why do you keep making these comparisons?
Same
So
mana cost.
Villas, Broker of Blood.
It's even bigger.
It's not the same mana cost. This is
Grizzlebrand's-
important. Your demon would not see it as the same mana cost because Grizzlebrand is black is 4 black.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. Your Tarmogoyf 2, it would be very upset
Well,
at
it's still 8 mana.
if you have this and Grizzlebrand in the graveyard. Then
yeah.
your
Oh,
other demon
even
gets 2
bigger.
counters,
Yeah.
and you're only 1 demon away from
Get all
winning
the-
off of Liliana's
put all-
contract.
Put all the demons.
I was like,
Yeah, put all the
you gotta
demons in
share
one
this
deck.
sweet demon tribal deck you're brewing, Dave.
I got a stew going. It's demons only. Oh man, why do I feel like none of these colors have gotten playable cards? That's not fair. Black got some good cards.
Yeah, I mean, disfigure.
Blood equals bones.
Blood equals
Scheming
bones.
Symmetry, maybe.
Yeah, I like that.
Blood equals bones. That's gonna be a good one.
All right, Dave, pick another cycle.
Let's do ley lines.
Okay, there you go. Ley lines. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. All right.
All right. So some of these we know. There's a couple new ones.
So the ones we know, those are easy. It's Anticipation, Sanctity,
Leyline
and
of the
Void,
Yep.
which are all varying levels of
Yeah.
good.
Let's go through this real quickly. Leyline of Anticipation is close to unplayable in this current standard format.
Correct.
Because it's Fairy Time Raveler.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell you. I'm very sorry for your time and waste of everything.
But it's a very popular one for like
Yeah,
the
super powerful.
100
in
card
general.
decks, and
And when Teferi finally gets banned, because if I've said Teferi enough times this podcast, it's starting to make me think about it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the first person to think about it. I don't want it to be banned. I've enjoyed casting it, but Sanctity and the Void both see a ton of modern play.
Yeah. Sanctity. I mean, so it sees modern play mostly for against burn,
Right.
and the red decks and standard are not so much burn based. They're more, I would say, creature focused. Like creature removal has a lot of utility against the mono red decks. Now they have some burn. Don't get me wrong, but that's not like the end all.
I don't know. I go back and forth on that. Yes, they do have a lot of creatures. Don't get me wrong, but their best draws are based off of their ability to chain spells.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Like they're not exactly casting. What's that card that had Jumpstart? Like the
Direct current.
no,
no.
the Punisher card.
Risk
the
factor.
Punisher.
Risk
Yeah,
factor.
factor. If there's still, like,
risk factor's not a direct damage spell. So that's how my brain
But
went.
the targets, right? Does it
Risk
target?
factor does target. This is true.
Yeah, so if they're still playing risk factor and it was more like, okay, we're just gonna like attack you for like 8 damage and then burn you out, then this would be an awesome card. I don't.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to see a lot of standard play. I will say I've had it Shalai enough times in the red matchup to go. Hexproof's important, but I don't know if it's.
But there's
important
also
enough.
like blocking.
I'm saying I don't know if it's
Yeah.
Sanctity important. Now,
Yeah.
Liliana of the Void is very important in Modern right now.
100%.
Modern is horrifically broken.
Yes.
How do you does it do anything in standard? Like it's obviously very
No.
good against Phoenix.
I
Yeah.
think like so we're gonna get Grafdigger's Cage as well. I think by having that and Leyline exist in the format, it hurts Leyline's chances probably.
Yeah, I think like if unless there's another graveyard deck that warrants sideboard, like even with the current numbers that you see, like say if it's just like standard stays the same except for we add Leyline of the Void. Are you even playing it? I wouldn't play it. I wouldn't waste a sideboard slot on it.
Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, you can find ways to beat Phoenix without playing Leyline, which, you know, obviously you need to have it in your opening hand. But then again, we get London Mulligan coming in with the set as well, so it gets a little bit better.
To put in a set that also has London Mulligan.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, let us show you how good these can be when you get to always see a 7-card hand.
Anyway, point is, we're not going to end up in a standard where we have Rally the Ancestors and no graveyard hate
No,
Right.
to
thank
kill
goodness.
it. So
Thank goodness.
yeah,
Next up is Leyline of Combustion, which is 2 red for enchantment, has the Leyline clause. Whenever you and or at least one permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, it deals 2 damage to that player. So I know Morgan and I talked about this one a little bit before. Out of all the red ones, like it has the most interesting, I think, line of text. I don't know that it does anything. I will say, we mentioned this before, in like modern burn mirrors, if I might have one of these in play. But
yeah, I'm not really feeling this one. I just like personally, and I know that ley lines have been good. I don't really like them because
No,
they're
I
just so there's so much variance. You know what I mean? It's either like the
they are
best card ever,
designed with variance in mind.
right,
I agree.
right, but it's just like the worst draw possible, like after your opening hand.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's just I don't really like cards like that. That's probably why I play blue red decks a lot because they're just all card filtering and cheap cantrips.
So you can play all the worst ley lines.
But this card in multiples is hilarious.
You're not wrong. I think the other thing with ley lines I don't like is they do let a lot of decks break the color pie. Like, I can play Land of the Void in any deck, and with the London Mulligan, be pretty successful at it. So,
Yep.
You considered playing it in the Mono Red Phoenix.
Yeah,
deck,
I mean, it's
which
pretty
is
common.
You can only cast it with Manamorphose.
Yes. Which is a real dream, that's the thing.
It's happened before.
All right, what's the last one, Dave?
Leyline of Abundance, which is 2 green. You're not going to cast it. Enchantment, if it's in your opening hand, blah, blah, blah. Whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. And then it has an activated ability, which is kind of weird. 6 green, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. It's a throwaway ability on Shalai.
Expensive Shalai.
Yeah.
Even pricier Shalai.
So this is like very specific for your deck. So you need to be playing,
so narrow.
You need to be playing green creatures that add mana, and then you can get more mana.
Yep.
So, do you guys understand, like, specifically in the context of, like, our fantasy worlds, like, we understand what ley lines are, right?
Yeah.
Like, how they add power.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Leyline of Abundance is amazing to me because, like, these, whatever, Llanowar Elves or whatever, are like, man, I don't know, these, I can make big trees here. Hey, I was making trees over here, but if I make them over here, I
Way
make 2
bigger.
trees. And then the 3 Llanowar Elves who got glued to each other are like,
Yeah,
can we make
4
6?
trees?
And they're like, well, like,
No.
not 6.
You can make 4.
4, though.
How does the math work out on that? I don't know.
I'm an elf.
I don't math.
If
Who
you
are-
have 3 individual ones, they can make 6.
But
If we
see,
stick together, we can only make 4.
much like our democracy here in the United States, since you've conglomerated together, you actually have less power. It makes no sense.
So wait, WotC is anti-union?
I think so.
Okay. Oh, man.
I didn't think this is where Leyline Abundance was going to go, but
Hey,
here
guys,
we
come over
are.
here, big trees.
Anyway, if this sees any play, it won't be in standard. maybe Modern Elves. Because it gives you a mana sink.
Yeah, so I guess like an elf ball style where you can just...
Yeah. You're like, I'll tap my, whatever the Lord guy, I forget his name. Add a million, put a
Does
counter on all my
Azumi?
guys. No, just
Nope.
the Archdruid.
Yeah,
Oh,
Elvish
okay.
Archdruid.
He's the legend.
So we didn't get a reprint in this set of Llanowar Elves, so if it does see standard play, it'll be within the next 3 months. And then probably never again.
Cast a zombie dino on turn 2.
Yeah.
Have it get bounced by Teferi.
Do we not get that weird, like, Llanowar Elves is in one of the intro decks, but not in the set thing again? Yeah, all right.
No. We did get another like mana elf like creature.
Yeah.
The double green thing, yeah.
Well,
we'll get to that, right?
Yeah, I don't think I even put it on green to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
So
we'll talk about it when we get there.
Well, let's do red for now. So first up we have
Chandras.
Chandras. So we
Chandra's
talked
plural.
we talked about these a couple weeks ago. So I'll go through them quickly.
We going up the ladder here? We going uncommon?
Yeah, I'll go. That's fine.
Mythic?
Chandra Novice Pyromancer, 3 generic and a red for a 5 loyalty. Legendary Planeswalker Chandra uncommon. +1 elementals you control get +2/+0 until the turn. There's those elemental synergies you were telling me about, Mr. Ross. Thank you. -1 add 2 red to your mana pool. -2 Chandra Novice Pyromancer deals 2 damage to any target. It's a fine card. The 2 red mana is pretty great.
This is nice for limited. But
It's a limited card for sure. The wedge. So the draft structure is built on wedges. So you have like a primary
I didn't
color.
think he was that associated with WotC itself.
You know what I mean.
Oh, okay.
So you have a primary color for your wedges with a easy add for tertiary color. So this will help with that because you have what is it? Teamer is your elemental color.
Yeah, I'm better at the pink and the orange myself.
Yeah.
That's pop culture and sports. Those are the wedges. Pretty good at.
Why? Why? Why do we have to do this?
Because all of this is nothing more than a Trivial Pursuit.
Moving on. Read the next genre.
Chandra Acolyte of Flame. 1 red for a 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker Chandra. 0. Put a loyalty counter on each red planeswalker you control. 0. Create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. They gain haste. Sacrifice at the beginning of the end step. -2. You may cast target instant or sorcery card with a converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. Chandra, Awakened Inferno, 4 generic, red, legendary planeswalker Chandra. This spell can't be countered. 6 loyalty, +2. Each opponent gets an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep. This emblem deals 1 damage to you. -3, Chandra, Awakened Inferno, deals 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. -X, Chandra, Awakened Inferno, deals X damage to our creature or planeswalker. If a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. I did it.
Do you want to read the
No! I don't want to read that one. Okay.
Fair enough.
I like the rare one.
I like the rare one as well. I think.
Flame.
What?
Acolyte of Flame.
Yeah, I think like we talked about this one a little bit, and I talked about like enjoying a lot of things on this card. Like the art is cool and all the things, but I think like more and more the context of the format, the making 2 hasty elementals with this card is very powerful.
And just like playing it in a red centric like mid range deck is really like tempting.
Yeah,
You get the Snapcaster twice.
I mean. Yeah, and it can add loyalty to itself. It does add loyalty.
Correct.
Sometimes more.
But like, yeah, the ability to just be like, you ticked your Teferi or your Narset or whatever else down to 1. Okay, get there. So I think like this is set up to interact well with the format, and offers a little bit of a different pressure point. Chandra was at what's the 4-mana one in standard right now? There's too many Chandra names.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Chandra 4 mana.
It's my phone background, but I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But
Pyromaster? No.
Flame Acolyte.
Something
No.
Fiery Inferno. Oh no, I was almost right. It's Awakened Inferno is the other one.
But no, I think it's pretty good. I think Awakened Inferno is also pretty good. Like the uncounterable clause, being able to make an emblem, and if you ever get to make 2 emblems, like your opponent's gonna die.
It's like the old 6-mana one. It's the 6-mana Chandra.
Yeah, I don't personally think it's as good as that one. The one from
It's similar that like it has a pyroclasm effect. Where you could kind of sweep the board, and then you have a big thing left over.
What I do like about this card a lot is that if you resolve one of these against Simic Nexus and then tick up, they have a very specific amount of turns they can take before they lose. Like it's like, okay, you control the board now, but you have this many untaps before you are dead.
I don't really like the design of this card, if we're being honest, but
so I don't disagree.
Whatever.
This reminds me a lot of I don't know if you read the card, but the Tezzeret that we got as a buy box promo for War of the Spark. I was looking at it for Brawl, which is the only reason I really even looked at it, and its tick up was also like deal X damage, to each, to an opponent, equal number of artifacts you control, and its tick up felt like it was in the wrong place. You know what I mean? And like the way this works, like I'm ticking up to be able to kill a big thing, I guess, but like I don't know. It just feels wonky in the way that its abilities work together, in my opinion. But
I just think it's gross that it's like immediately goes up to 8, and then you just have this thing that's on the board for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
you can't interact with
emblems
it all.
you still have no way to interact with.
Yeah, so it's just like
It does definitely feel like an Elspeth side of powerful 6-mana planeswalker, right? A planeswalker that you're going to be able to play and like end the game as your finisher.
I mean, it certainly will end the game. Again, it will immediately puts a little clock above your head, and I think you compared it to Final Fantasy the last time.
Yeah,
right?
like when someone casts level 5 death, like when they cast like death against you, and you have 20 seconds to like win the game. Like you have to win this battle in 20 seconds. Go.
Yeah. Okay, so those are Chandras. Let's continue.
Chandras. We're talking about all the Chandras, like Chandra's Embercat and Chandra's Outrage, Chandra's Regulator, Chandra's Spitfire.
Can we just talk about how awful the flavor text is on Chandra's Embercat? Furballs, try dealing with fireballs, because it's a fire cat. This is going to be part of our sitcom.
All right. Chandra's Regulator actually is
Should
on the
regulate
list.
her jokes.
She's going to regulate. 1 in a red for a legendary artifact. Whenever you activate a loyalty ability of a Chandra Planeswalker, you may pay 1. If you do, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. And then it has 1 tap, discard a mountain card or a red card, draw a card. I don't know. I don't know. Is there a combo with this of some kind? Do you like?
You get 2
Add
emblems.
4 manas with the Chandra Novice Pyromancer, I guess.
2 emblems. So, can we talk about 2 emblems?
2 emblems.
But you have to have 7 mana to do that, I guess. So, I don't know. I think it's when we had the goggles, that card was really powerful. This feels much more limited than that. So, it is by definition much more limited than that. So, we also get Chandra Spitfire. There's a lot of Chandra's cards in here.
Yeah, I literally named them all.
Okay,
That's a reprint too.
I'm really sorry. I know it is. All right, let's go to a good card. How's that sound? Oh, I don't get to talk about Dracuseth, the Maw of Flames.
Isn't that the next good card? We're not talking about Dragon Mage, right?
No, I'm talking about Dracuseth, which I don't even know. Whatever. No, it's fine.
Yeah, talk about that guy.
Why are we
That's
talking about that? Why? What? The 7 mana?
Dracuseth? Yeah.
The
That's
7
good.
mana for 7 that doesn't have haste.
Yeah.
You guys gonna see standard play?
Oh, yeah, probably not.
No, okay. Anyways,
I
trust
thought
me.
it had ETB effect for some reason.
No. It's getting Daragaz, but that'll be it. Do you know why? Because it triggers the Sarkhan enchantment, and it makes tokens off the Lacula. I can't remember these ridiculous legends
Lapis.
names.
This card's good.
Yeah, Ember Hauler's a good card.
Like, goes right into mono red, right?
Goblin Crater Maker is also seen play. Can't
Yeah,
go to
that
the
can't go
face,
face.
but
Let's go face.
okay, yeah.
Can go to Planeswalkers.
Sure.
I don't know.
I mean, this card saw play last time it was in.
The 2 drops in mono red currently either go deal 2 damage when they come into the battlefield and still have 2 power, or become 4/4s that make mana.
Yeah.
But when one of those rotates, because Pyromancer will rotate,
Yeah.
then yes.
Yeah,
Then Ember
yeah.
Hall can slot right in and be worse. All right. It's still a good card, but it's worse than Viashino Pyromancer. I think in the context of mono red.
Yeah, sure.
Flame Sweep, 2 generic and a red for an instant. Flame Sweep deals 2 damage to each creature, except for creatures you control with flying. I think this card's sweet.
This card
Yeah,
is great.
this is probably like the best uncommon variant we've seen of this effect.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I like this a lot.
Well, except for Pyroclasm. But are you talking about 3
Three
mana
mana
instant
instant
speed?
Yeah, 3 mana
Yeah.
instant speed.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is. I don't want to say it's as good as Kozilek's Return because that card actually did get.
It's close.
Yeah, but that card had some extra text. on it
Correct.
that sometimes
It was
had-
relevant in that format. Yeah.
I mean,
But-
I think even in older formats where Kozilek's Return sees play, like, getting around protection is important.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have Auriok champions that are seeing a lot of play.
Yes. But yeah, like we've seen. Gosh, we've had. What's the one that's currently Fiery Cannonade?
Yeah, Fire Cannon.
Which kills mostly everything, but when you don't get to kill that like fanatical
That
firebrand,
Firebrand,
that
yeah,
sucks.
it's
Or
super
like,
gross.
or the
or
one
like
mana
even
fire.
like against mono blue, like
Yeah.
it's
So this being able to just clean up everything and actually like, if you have some spirit tokens on the battlefield or whatever,
Right.
it's probably going to come up more unlimited, but it's
I mean,
kind of a nice way to.
in modern you can play this even like on a Mardu Pyromancer build, like your Lingering Souls live.
If you have Arclight Phoenixes in play, it doesn't.
They
kill.
also live, yes.
So that's pretty sweet.
Yes, I like this card a lot.
Yeah, I'm. They have a sweet promo version of it too.
Nice, yeah, I saw that. It is awkward to me because to me it looks a lot like the card Bathe in Dragonfire.
Yeah. I see this card and I just see like a bunch of other cards and I'm like, okay.
But like Bathe in Dragonfire was in the last core set, right? Like that was
I think maybe
or was that the limited card?
you're thinking of maybe.
What's the one that you can return? Because I think
You're
Bathe in
thinking of the. I know what you're talking about.
Bathe in Dragonfire is like 3 mana for a 4 damage spell, and
Yeah.
that was Dragon's Tarkir.
The
Whatever.
Dragonfire card is that as well.
Okay, whatever
But
it
you
is.
could return it if you do something with a dragon.
So Morgan, you didn't put Fry on the list.
It's a
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah, it's like
Whatever.
We'll talk about
Yeah,
it.
it's fine.
before you leave Flame Sweep, you could always think about instead of thinking about that art, you can just think about the gif from Game of Thrones with Drogon, just in the loop train episode where he just goes by, he
Yeah.
just drives by and just goes.
Yep.
Yeah,
That is also a flame sweep. I
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah,
Fair
sweep
enough.
him up.
All right, well, let's talk about our pirate boy.
Our Minotaur pirate boy,
Yes.
Glinthorn Buccaneer. This is another one of those really weird cards from the set. So it's 1 red for a Minotaur pirate. It's a 2/4 with haste. It says whenever you discard a card, Glinthorn Buccaneer deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay. It also has 1 in a red, discard a card, draw a card. Activate this ability only if Glinthorn Buccaneer is attacking. So you have some really weird timing restrictions to this ability.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen creatures that it's like they rummage when you attack, right? It's kind of like that, but you have to pay for it, but you get a little bit of a bonus because you get to deal some damage. It's a 2/4, which is really strange.
I don't understand this card at all.
Yeah,
I just
the pirate. I don't know.
It's really good if you curve this into Teferi's puzzle box.
Yeah. With Corset 20, you had a good chance of being on the list if you were weird. Like, you're a weird card. I'm going to talk about you, I guess. just to cover the spread. You never know. You never know what's going to be good sometimes. Might as well talk about weird cards. I agree. This is a weird red card.
Is this some kind of combo with like Wheel of Fortune effects or something? Maybe. Like,
I mean, I guess
maybe?
so.
I don't know.
I mean, generally in red, when you play Wheel of Fortune effect, the whole point is you have no cards in hand,
Right.
or you had a lot of cards in hand, but you're hoping to draw. What's the black card that lets you cast cards out of your graveyard, or is it Saga?
Yawgmoth's Will.
Yeah. Or you're trying to draw Yawgmoth's Will. Like, I think it's the only two ways that you do that. So whatever.
So you play this, you cast Lion's Eye Diamond, discard your hand, deal more damage. Then you flashback the Time Twister with flashback from Modern Horizons. Then you're doing it. No, I don't know. Honestly, I could see this maybe as like a sideboard card in the red mirror, just because it has 4 toughness, maybe.
Yep.
With some extra text on it, but yeah, I don't know.
All right. Next up is one of the weirdest named cards I've ever seen in my entire life because I have to mention it.
This one?
Goblin Bird Grabber.
Oh.
I just have to mention it. Like, what? Stop it. Like,
I mean, is that any more weird than Goblin Balloon Brigade?
well, here's the thing. Goblin. I just want to talk about how the word grabber sounds in context. Like snatcher, eater, consumer, cooker, barbecuer. Why are you grabbing birds, man?
He's a grabber.
I just understand. Like, I assume it's a hunting thing. You're going to eat them, but it also just kind of sounds like I kind of like birds, and when they're close to me, I grab them. Like,
No, he's just hitching a ride, man. The bird swoops in, and he can only get flying if you have a flying creature.
yeah, I guess I don't know. Okay,
Yeah, he just,
it doesn't. Here's the thing. I understand what the art is depicting. It doesn't make this better. The fact that he's just actively grabbing a bird's leg, or he's just like leg.
I mean, the flavor text literally says, "I opens my mouth to catches the bugs."
I don't. I really like how you read that. I don't know. I just don't like. This is a weird card name to me.
I don't grabber. If anyone called me a grabber, I would be offended.
Yeah,
So
like you're just over there eating like gummy worms. It's like, he's a worm grabber. It's like, don't do
No,
that.
why?
Don't call me that. I
Please.
open my mouths to eat the worms, but like, all right, Goblin Ringleader.
don't call people grabbers.
The more you know. It hasn't worked out well for Joe Biden.
Okay, addendum, unless they deserve it.
Goblin Ringleader. 3 generic. Okay, hold on. Who deserves that? Like,
I don't
what'd
know.
you do? Well, I grabbed him. Did he deserve it? Well, yeah. Oh, well, then you're off the hook.
No,
Then you're good.
no, call people grabbers unless they deserve it.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I did you take that like that?
No.
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't alone.
Do
On
they
that.
deserve to be grabbed? That's how I took it.
No, sorry.
That's how I took it too.
Clarification.
It's like, is he just victim blaming here?
No,
Yeah, I think that's why you got the silence there because Dave and I both heard that.
sorry.
So,
Mine was a continuation of my thought. Don't call people grabbers unless they deserve it.
oh man. All right. 3 generic to red for a 2/2 creature goblin haste. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all goblin cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. I've cast this card a number of times. Feels good every time.
Hey, we got a Modern Horizons card.
Yeah, weird.
In
Snuck in.
standard. Do we have enough goblins in standard to make this a thing, or is it
Goblin
still
War
just worse?
Chief, Goblin
We could.
is still in standard. Skirk
Siege
Prospector, Siege Gang is still in standard. The Goblin Trash Master is also still in standard.
Trash master.
So some of these cards cost 4 and 5 mana. But yes, I think we have enough goblins for this. Kranko is a goblin.
Chain Whirler.
Chain Whirler's
Yeah, that's a
goblin.
good one.
So probably missing out on the other good 1-drops and 2-drops.
Fanatical
You can
Firebrand.
play Goblin Bird Grabber. And that's I don't even know what its ability does.
What about Goblin
It gains
Smuggler?
flying. So there you go. Oh,
Goblin
never mind.
Smuggler.
Yeah.
can give your Goblin Ringleader unblockable.
That gives your Kranko unblockable. Jeez.
No, I don't think that card's actually good, but
No, it's fine.
kind of cool.
No, but I think Ringleader is a good card just to get for Modern in general. So
Yeah.
it makes me have the Goblins get some cards.
Still probably not good enough, which is kind of,
Yeah, no, it's not.
kind of stinks, but it's just different times, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. What do we got next?
Marauding Raptor.
Marauding Raptor. Oh, this is another weird one.
Yeah.
Marauding Raptor.
Yeah.
So 2 mana, 2/3. So it's 1 in a red for a 2/3 dinosaur. It says creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. All right, pretty cool. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Marauding Raptor deals 2 damage to it. It doesn't like to have friends. You go away.
It likes beefy friends.
If a dinosaur is dealt damage this way, Marauding Raptor gets +2/+0 to end a turn. And yeah, this creates.
It likes having friends. It plays rough with them because
Yeah.
like it's helped by other dinosaurs existing. Or
So
Yeah.
I want to talk about a couple things with this card. One, I know that Saffron Olive called it Heartless Summoning for dinosaurs, or just like the red Heartless Summoning, and it kind of is because Heartless Summoning is it -2/-2 or -1/-1?
it gives -1/-1.
Okay, so it's similar. Like it hurts your creatures and it makes them cost less. So there you go.
It's Aether Flash to the creature.
Yeah.
Only for you.
So you posted a picture in the Discord of this in Polyraptor.
Polyraptor.
Now, do you actually understand how that works?
So it breaks the game, right?
Yeah, it ends
draws
the
the
game.
game, yeah.
It draws the game immediately. Like it's not a cute combo. It actually breaks the game, and I don't understand why they would do that. Why?
Now, if you're playing in, I guess you don't have. I was gonna say, if you're playing in paper, do you have a way to just say, "I'm going to do this many times"?
No, you do not.
Nope.
Spoke to a judge about it. Actually, you do not. It does not designate a stop. Therefore, there isn't a stop.
Yeah, I know. Like in arena,
Once you get on the ride, you don't get off the ride.
yeah, if you're playing it online, then there's no way.
So I just implore everybody when you think like, oh, I'm going to do this with Polyraptor, don't, because you can't win. It's just like smoking, kids. All right, you can't win. G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
Thank you. Beyond that, I think this card, like as a 2 mana 2/3 that like makes your creatures cost less. It's interesting. You can curve this into Ripjaw Raptor and draw a card and attack
nice.
for 4.
That's nice.
So I don't mind that. So again, a lot of these last hurrah cards for
Right. Like this is why it's like you still have enough in like to think about maybe doing something with like a big red X creature deck. It doesn't even necessarily have to be all dinosaurs. You still have plenty. You still have Gruul Spellbreaker.
plenty of swords.
Yeah, you still have a lot of cards that can play well with this.
Sure, I think you'd have to be careful just because, like, yes, you have cards that can play well with it. You do want to make sure that you're not just like playing this card and making it easier for your opponent to kill your creatures.
Like they just like disfigure your
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, obviously.
And like when you're not getting a bonus for this thing, then like you really have to make some hard decisions. But I don't disagree. Like, yes, you can curve this into Nullhide Ferox, and that doesn't feel that bad. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to take a pretty specific deck. Like, you're obviously going to have to build with this card in mind.
yeah, like you're probably not playing Llanowar Elves in this deck.
Right. No.
Like something to be aware of.
you can't play.
But you could play like the 1/3.
you can't play like Growth Chamber Guardian.
Yeah, that
Something
would be
like that.
bad.
Though,
Well,
I guess you could like.
just activate.
Yeah, it's just going to make it cost more in a
Well,
weird
but see,
way.
Here's the thing: you could though, if you were playing this in conjunction with what's the Riot enchantment?
Yeah. Rhythm of the Wild.
Rhythm of the Wild.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying,
It
like,
sounds like a lot of hoops to jump through.
well, but, I mean,
Yeah, we're not saying that it isn't, but
assuming both cards are playable, anyways. But there you go. Next up is repeated reverberation.
Yep.
Is it? Did you read the last one? Oh no, I
Yeah.
lost it. Repeated reverberation. 2 generic red for an instant. When you next cast, and it sounds so formal. When next you cast an instant spell, or cast a sorcery spell or activate a loyalty ability this turn, copy that spell or ability twice. You may choose new targets for the copies. So now 1, 2. You copy it twice.
I think this card is only worth talking about because it does say activate loyalty ability, so
Yeah.
you can you already have something that you can
Yes,
just do
you
for free.
can turn 3 Teferi, turn 4 Tick down Teferi, and bounce 3 things and draw 3 cards.
Yeah, perfect. We did it.
Yeah, even then. So I think that is probably the most interesting case for this card, just because it's difficult to play this and then also have mana left over to play something else that's worth
Yeah,
doing. But yeah, if you have a planeswalker on the battlefield, but it's still, I mean, you still require setup to. Okay, you still have to have a battlefield presence
Right.
before you do this.
Sure.
But
Battlefield presents are better Christmas gifts though than Dread presents.
Yeah, just by the nature of the name.
I wonder if this is going to lead to some kind of like weird combo with a planeswalker.
I mean,
I don't
Probably.
know. Probably not. but-
I mean, I don't know. I take out my Chandra to give you an emblem, and then I give you 2 more emblems. So,
All right, we got one more.
yep. Hey, Shock's in here again. Don't forget.
Yeah, Shock. That's another card. They could just put it in every set, and I'd be like, yep,
It's
that's
true.
fine.
Yeah, Shock, no lightning strike.
Nope.
Okay, Thunderkin Awakener. I'm just getting all the weird ones. All right, so it's 1 in a
That's my
red,
secret, Dave. They're all weird.
1 in a red for a 1/2 haste creature. It's an elemental shaman. Whenever Thunderkin Awakener attacks, choose target elemental creature card in your graveyard with toughness less than Thunderkin Awakener's toughness. So 1 toughness, basically. Return that card to the battlefield tapped and attacking. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step.
That's the whole point, though. The elementals are X ones.
Yeah, they're all
Yeah.
X1s.
Yeah.
You can return a
Ball
lightning
lightning.
skelemental.
Yep, all the ball lightnings. This is it. Ball lightning.
know
Lord. So I want to talk about the creature type on this card. So it's an elemental shaman, but most shamans summon elementals. That's how it works. So
But-
now we have an elemental that lived long enough to become a shaman,
It
and
gets other elementals back.
right. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't actually get it.
Well, like, you have like the Flamekin, and they weren't like
Yeah, but that's
Temporal
I
beings.
guess, like, I don't know. This
They-
elemental like got to the end of the turn and it was like, "Don't I sacrifice here?" And they were like, "No, you live." And he was like, "Oh," and then he started wearing clothes.
May you live to bring back the other.
Bring back the
bring back
lightning.
back the olden ones.
again like Flamekin wore clothes.
Yes,
we're
this is not a
elementals?
flame kitten.
I'm just saying, doesn't mean like
It's a thunder kitten.
Maybe it's just referring to the type of like he's.
No,
he's a
I know,
shaman
I know. I just
for
I don't know.
elementals, not an elemental that's also a shaman.
Shaman should be Tauren. I don't know.
Right?
That was red. Let's do another cycle. Red sucks. It gets flame
Morgan,
sweep,
You choose.
and that's kind of it.
let's leave the down curve of red with the up curve of the new color hoser cards.
Can I ask, are we really going to talk about the living weapon artifacts? Are any of those good enough?
no.
That's fine.
Okay, we're not going to talk. It's a cycle. We're not talking about
It is a cycle, and I just think it's cool because it's a callback to like germs and living weapons.
Yeah, so
There's
every time I
only
go to a
like- there's
Speedway
only like
bathroom,
3
it's a
of them.
callback to germs. I don't need to talk about it. Sorry, Speedway. I'm sorry. I'm sure many of you have clean bathrooms. That's just a gas station I was at today. All right, let's start in white. You get the first one here, Dave.
Trying to pull them up here.
Oh, I trusted you.
All right, Devout Decree. It's 1 in a white sorcery. Exile target creature or planeswalker that's black or red. Scry 1. I was a little confused by the wording on this. Like, is this like Pyroblast where you could target something but that it doesn't have an effect if it's not that color? That's not how that works?
I don't know, actually. Is it not how it works?
That's not how it works.
Okay, well. Anyway, it's not... I think a lot of people are like, well, it's not Celestial Purge. You can't hit this and that. And it's like, well, Celestial Purge is probably a little too good.
Yeah.
I mean, this is still doing what you want to do. I mean, it's... Unfortunately, it's not removing, like, Experimental Frenzy against the
Yeah.
red deck, but it can kill any of the creatures. And it can hit Planeswalkers, too, so... Kill Chandras.
Yeah.
Anything
All of
aforementioned Chandra cards. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty solid.
Next up is Aether Gust, 1 generic and a blue for an instant. Choose target spell or permanent that's red or green. Its owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library. I guess this could be just being tired. They choose where
Yes.
to put it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
I
unless
think-
you target your own spell.
I guess that's true. Yeah, no, I think they choose.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is meh. I don't like this one very much.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the weaker ones, I think. The fact that they have the chance to put it on top now, I mean, it is kind of nice, memory lapse something, that can be nice sometimes, but like sometimes you just want to get something for good. Like if they're playing we'll just say experimental frenzy, again for the sake of example here, it's like, okay, well, you countered it, they put it back on top of their deck, you're still gonna have to deal with it the next turn.
Right.
But again, I mean, maybe if it's a card that they don't necessarily want to draw, it's the same as countering it. But giving them the choice seems kind of odd.
Agreed. All right, next one.
Next one is Noxious Grasp. This is the black one, and so it's 1 and a black instant. Destroy target creature or planeswalker that's green or white. You gain 1 life. So obviously very similar to the white one we just talked about, except you gain a life instead of scry, which is worse. But
It's also destroy instead of exile.
being in destroy instead of exile, which is worse. But it being instant speed, I think makes this a lot better. Also,
There's
there's a lot more white things you want to kill.
however relevant instant speed is at this point in time in
Yeah.
this format.
Yeah, but kills Teferi.
At sorcery speed. At
That's
least one of
fine.
them.
That's fine. Still
At
kills
least
it.
one of them.
Just kills it, which is pretty nice. And also against the explore package of creatures, you can kill any of those. Kills Nissa, who shakes the world.
Yep.
It's pretty good. I think this is probably one of the better ones. I'd say this one and the next one is probably the 2 best ones, I think.
Yeah.
Agreed. Next one is Fry. Generic and a red for an instant. This spell can't be countered. Fry deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker that's white or blue. So this is the card that we wanted the red force to be.
Yeah.
And here it is finally.
Yeah.
Also, the art on this one is the best in the cycle. Just
Oop, that poor chicken.
the poor chicken got
It's
exploded.
just chicken feet.
So,
That's it.
That's it.
but I mean, this card's just very good. The 5
Yeah.
damage is a huge number because it kills Lyra Dawnbringer, and that's important.
Kills Teferi after it ticks out.
Also kills Teferi after it takes
Either
up.
one.
Either one, but this case we're talking about big Teferi, so there's that. And I think like when you look at the blue-white decks, like Combust was a card that was playable, especially during Splinter Twin's reign. But when you look at Modern right now, this card I think is relevant. It interacts with all the Planeswalkers in the blue-white deck, and those decks are sometimes packing both Lyra Dawnbringer and can't think of the angel. What's the other one?
Restoration Angel.
Baneslayer.
Oh, Baneslayer.
Baneslayer Angel.
Baneslayer.
That's the one. I kind of want to say Baleful and then Banefire, and I was like, neither of those are the word. Brain, good job. So,
It's also relevant that
but Restoration Angel too. Oh, and Feldar Guardian.
Feldar Guardian. I think we got to mention that like a common play against like something like Is It Phoenix in Modern is like play a Narset, don't activate it. This can just kill it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
straight
big
up for
deal
one
too.
card. You could do that in Standard too. Like Is It Phoenix in both formats. You kind of Narset's a pretty good card against those strategies. So being able to just nug that for one card and not have to worry about it, it's pretty good.
Agreed.
Last one is the green one, Veil of Summer, which as green as want to do, because
They just keep trying, don't they?
This one might be better than the blue one, but so this one is just a wall of text. So it's a single green instant. Draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until end of turn. And then it also has reminder text on it. So
Wasn't the older version of this is like your next green spell can't be countered or something like that?
yeah,
This is better than that
yeah, it's better
because
than
like you'll
that.
get to draw a card and negate their counterspell essentially.
This also will, if you can cast this in response to them casting a Teferi, and they can't bounce your creature,
This is true.
which is nice. And you draw a card because they're casting a blue spell.
Yeah,
It's on the stack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
weirdly worded, but I think it actually is somewhat useful. So
Okay, maybe it's a little better than I thought. I didn't think of that line.
whenever I think of
It's
it,
still,
I think
like,
of
very-
Autumn's Veil or whatever.
Yes,
yeah, it's still
Autumn's
very
Veil.
like
Sorry.
that's obviously a
Oh, I said
very
veal.
I mean, you could have veal in the
know
autumn. I don't know.
Burchett raises veal, but they do apparently. So
it's like a very oddly specific timing to that card. It's like, well, if Teferi is on the stack,
Yeah,
you can
I
cast
mean,
this. It works, but it's just kind of like, yeah, okay.
Also,
and
it's
that's
just
the thing.
super intuitive for
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
players. Again,
Oh.
keep ramping them on there, guys.
because you play your green decks with so many instant speed responses to things.
All right, let's move into green. And because of some of the cycles here, green gets a fairly small list. So quick shout out to Ferocious Pup. The
Yep.
most adorable pup in all of Magic.
We must protect this boy
And that card's going in the battle
At all
box.
costs.
And I don't care if it's good
at
or
all
not.
costs.
But I just like the idea that the feisty boy's like, I'm gonna fight you, and like whoever's there is like scared and goes away, and they're like, they were scared
did
of me.
it.
And Mom's like, yep, they were scared
You
of you.
did do it.
Was this card playable?
Barcade Troll. I know you want to put that in your cube, I think. Is that right?
No, I mean there were green decks with the 5/4, right?
Well, the 3/3 for 2 saw play. The vanilla 3/3 for 2 saw some play when there was a green Stompy deck. Barcade Troll is green for a 2/2 troll. Enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counter on it. You can pay 1, remove it, +1/+1 counter from the troll, and it gains hexproof until end of turn. So it's better than regenerate, but no, I don't think this card is quite good enough. You'd have to show me a deck that convincingly has a clock that changes me from wanting to have either Simic Growth Guardian or a Mana Dork as my 2-drop.
No, that's fair. I was just thinking of like the why can't I think of that card name?
Colonian Tusker?
That was
No,
that
not
was the
that.
vanilla.
No,
You're
the
talking
cards in
about
standard right now.
you're
That's the
talking about
green,
the 5/4.
triple green 5/4. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh.
one the 3 elves glued together. It's
That
Lana War.
No. He's talking about the 5/4.
Yeah, Lana War Tribe. Or,
No.
nope.
No.
No.
Lana War Pit Elf.
It's the
Elvish
green,
champ-
the green, the
is it
green
Elvish
chain
champion?
whirler.
No, Elvis Champion is that
the
is
green
not
chain
it.
whirler.
I know we know what you're talking
You know what
about.
I'm talking about. Yeah, I think it would go in that deck. And that's
Lana
it.
War Wrecking Crew.
It's an elf and someone and it's riding something. There's not multiple elves in the art.
Lana
has
War Tusk Rider.
So
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't know.
Gargantuan.
I still think the other green 2-drops are still just better in that deck, though, right? Like even if you're playing the 2/3 elf that like when you target it makes an elf and you can
Thorn
pump
Lieutenant.
it.
I know that one.
Yeah, Thorn Lieutenant's still better than this card, I think.
Sergovian Peace Accords. All right, let's talk about a real card. Elvis Reclaimer.
Yeah.
I read. Oh, okay, sorry. It's green for a 1/2 creature elf warrior. Elvish Reclaimer gets +2/+2 as long as there are 3 or more land cards in your graveyard, and +2/+3 as long as you are singing a song by the Reclaimers. Pay 2, tap it, sacrifice a land, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. That ability to search your library for a land card is super powerful. It's just super powerful.
Yeah, it definitely reminds you of what's her wagon?
Man, we're good with names.
From
now.
it's just late. From Alara, the Knight of the Reliquary.
Land of not a reliquary.
Except you have to pay mana to use it, which
Yeah,
is way
yeah.
worse, but it's 1 mana,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little bit better. I think for standard, I don't really see it. But for something like modern where we have fetch lands, I think it could easily be a 1 mana 3/4 with a relevant ability. Time will tell on that one.
A low CMC green creature that is bigger than you think it would be, like a Tarmogoyf. Is this Tarmogoyf 3?
Steel
so many
Leaf
Tarmogoyfs.
Champion.
Steel Leaf
There
Champion.
it is. So many Tarmogoyfs in the set. No,
It's too many.
no. I think as modern currently is, I don't think this card's very good.
Well,
But-
yeah, not a lot is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of restrictions
You
on
cast
the format.
you cast a 3/4 on turn 1, where your opponent casts an 8/8 on turn 2.
Well, you're
so-
dead.
Oh,
And that one it milled you out.
And people also have a bunch of graveyard hate, so I might just shrink this guy and
Randomly,
not
that's
even
good.
be
That's good.
Um,
Here's the thing: you call that other demon Tarmogoyf. Let's be honest, Tarmogoyf's not even a playable Magic card right now. Like there's
if it was a standard, it'd be good.
there's a
Wait,
I don't
maybe
know.
not.
There's a
Maybe
new
not.
there's a new Jund deck that is black white. It's black white Jund. Like you posted that. Like that's hilarious.
Well, actual Jund did actually win the
No, I know.
MCQ, right?
I know.
Or the Premier or whatever.
Yep. Sure did. I somehow
Tarmogoyf.
Jund guy always does it. Jund
Tarmogoyf.
guy's the guy who navigates the landmine, like the battlefield that has the landmines. Everyone's just like, what? How they
Doesn't
do
make any
that?
sense.
I
Yeah, I
don't
know.
get it. So, yeah, I think the card's like powerful, but we'll see. Okay,
Oh, we got
Gargos.
Gargos.
Gargamel, Vicious Watcher. 3 generic green for an
2 in a
8/7 legendary creature. Yeah, deal with it. Hydra. Vigilance. Hydra spells you cast cost 4 less to cast. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, Gargos, Vicious Watcher fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Why are we talking about this card?
Big Hydras.
It's just
Is
it's
this your way of
interesting.
telling us you're a Hydra agent?
Clearly,
How do you ever get through this thing? 8-7 vigilance.
you bounce it obviously with Teferi.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the obvious and easy answer. I don't know. I think it's it's interesting.
Captain America
Are
gets
there any
cheaper
other
to cast.
Hydras in Standard that you would play?
There's literally another one in this set, and there was one in War of the Spark as well, and there's probably other ones. They like to stuff Hydras like everywhere.
Well,
They are everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
You
start
just
off
don't
as
know.
only one head. But
If you cut off one head, I heard
You know, it
the
obviously
two
interacts
grow.
interestingly with the Hydras with the X in their CMC. You know, similar to a way that Endless One works with Eldrazi Temple or what have you. I don't know. It's just an interesting set of words, and like at the very least, it could take something out along with it if it gets targeted. It's big. It's 6-man,
It is
8/7.
all right, I'm questioning all your green choices here. Now we're talking about Healer of the Glade.
All right, hold on.
Here, the grades
Hold on.
a sideboard card against mono
before,
red.
Before we go to that, I just got to note Gift of Paradise is back, which is one of the better ramp cards.
It's true. Yeah, New
That
Horizons
has actually
does
seen a
not
lot
cut
of
it.
Standard play, and this is in the last core set, which obviously will be rotating.
Yeah, so it maintains
So
standard
it'll maintain-
viability.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Yeah, Heal of the Glade. It's 1 mana, 1/2, gain 3 life.
Sideboard card
Fine.
for red.
Is this a good sideboard card against red? I don't think that's what green ever wants to do against red. Play mediocre
Is the 1
guys.
mana 0/3 that ramps you better than this? Probably,
Yes.
right? Yeah, the
Agreed.
sloth.
The Arboreal Grazer.
Yeah.
Because it can block and stay alive after it blocks a 2-power creature. Like
I mean, this
this
But
can't
it's
even.
the elemental synergies, Mike.
Yeah, this
is-
can't even block like Gitu Lava Runner effectively most of the time.
most of the
But-
time.
Nah, I
But
don't.
the elemental synergies.
Yeah, but the elements.
Just think about the elementals.
Yep. All right, let's talk about another bad
Chandra
magic
can
card.
give it +2/+0.
Leapkin Druid is the other. It's the new mana
Yeah.
creature. It's a
If you
0/3.
control 4 more creatures, it adds 2 green mana instead. Which
I actually
is
do
exactly,
think this one's legit.
Yeah, it's certainly there.
Again,
It'll be
elemental
played.
druid.
Yeah,
Not an
yeah.
elf druid. Elemental druid.
All right, Loaming Shaman. 2 generic and a green for a 3/2 creature centaur shaman. When Loaming Shaman enters the battlefield, target player shuffles any number of target cards from their graveyard into their library.
More graveyard hate.
It's true.
Also can randomly prevent you from getting milled out.
Also true.
I
Yep.
don't know how relevant that
I
is.
like making my opponent shuffle their phoenixes in. That's pretty great.
It's another downshift. Used to be
Yeah.
a rare.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, it's worse rate than a Centaur Courser, so you really got to be getting something out of this ability to ever want to cast this card.
Yeah.
So,
It's a thing.
yep. Ooh, poor green, just doing well.
Night Pack Ambusher, we talking about that one?
Yeah, that's coming up next.
Okay.
There are a lot of wolf synergies in.
No, I think this card's we're talking about. Go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah,
Dave.
it's on the list, right?
Yeah, that's all we were checking.
Yeah. All right, Night Pack Ambusher, it's 2 green for a 4/4 wolf. It has flash. Other wolves and werewolves you control get +1/+1. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't cast a spell this turn, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So it's not going to transform because we don't have any of those in the set. But similar to the transform mechanic, where you get a bonus for not playing spells. Yeah, kind of interesting. I mean, 4 mana 4/4 flash is pretty big on its own. There's multiple cards in this set that give you wolf tokens. I don't know if we're going to talk about any of them, but
There's
just
Ferocious
worth
Pup.
noting.
Ferocious
The
Pup.
Ferocious Pup. Yeah.
Also, like, I know that it's an uncommon. The Arlen Planeswalker makes a lot of wolves that also get counters and getting pumped by this.
Don't forget about. Don't sleep on Tolsmere.
The Tolsimir, that's
Close
true.
calls, right?
Oh,
He's
man,
a
you
friend
can-
of this
you can
wolf.
flash
All
this
of
one
these
in, it'll
wolves.
tap into Tolsimir and then have a 4/4 wolf that fights.
Yeah. If I'm being honest with myself, I don't know how, if this, I don't know. If you're playing a flash strategy though, you just don't want to play cards in your own turn. So
Right.
you just play this end of turn, attack, pass turn, get a 2/2,
We get a 3/3.
get 3/3.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
I don't think the play patterns are bad with this card, and I think a 4/4 for 4 flash is already a fine rate. So, like, yeah, if you're just setting up so like you don't want to cast spells on your turn, you could be talking. We already had a flash 2/1, like you could talk maybe blue green flash again, which was a deck before, where you're just holding up some protection. Like either you protect your guy and hit, or you get to make a 3/3.
Yeah. Again, Teferi.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But this isn't the worst. I think it's fine. So cool card. And again, maybe sometimes you get synergies. So Okay. Next up, I do want to point out you mentioned the cyborg card against Mono Red. I think the one
Pulse
Pulse
Marasa.
Marasa.
Oh yeah, this card is
like
nice.
that card is good.
It's
good
a
card.
reprint from last time we were in Zendikar. So, but yeah, it'll be coming back to standard.
Yeah, this card saw a decent amount of standard play.
Yeah, no,
last time
it's pretty good. I also should mention that Thrashing
Bronzodon's
Bronzodon
coming
gets the
back.
reprint here.
Yep.
So
Staying in there.
There's another card that's going to stick around. Next card is Vivian Arcbow Ranger, 1 GGG for a 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker Vivian. We can come back to that if you want to, Dave.
Yeah.
+1, distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among up to 2 target creatures. They gain trample until end of turn. -3, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. -5, you may choose a creature card you own from outside the game, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So, I don't. This is I mentioned on last week's cast that I was kind of hoping this was just going to be Vivian
Reed again. Yeah, me too.
But this is an interesting idea. I think the +1 here is real powerful. The counters plus trample on 2 different creatures, like that is a pretty swingy +1 because trample is so effective. The -3 being able to hit planeswalkers is also pretty good, though it needing a creature and specifically targeting a creature you control definitely lends itself to blowouts.
Yeah, it just opens you up.
So I'm not a huge fan of that part. The -5 is interesting. Not being able to do it the turn it comes into play. You can compare this like Karn the Great Creator, for example, means that like you're less inclined to play the toolbox build because you have to untap with it at 5 for you to ever get a chance to do it. So
And then you have to like lose it
to do it,
right? Yeah.
So I don't know. It's fine. The +1's powerful. Everything else is kind of eh.
It goes in that same mono green deck that the troll goes in.
Yeah, and
So you put counters on the troll so you can give it more hexproof.
and the
boom.
Llanowar Piece of Cord. No, I did Piece of Cord already. The
Steel Leaf Champion.
Yavimaya Hammer
Yeah,
Thrower.
it's called Steel Leaf Champion.
The,
We figured it out, remember? Yeah, anyway.
Dothry Flesh Monster.
All
Isn't
right.
that the shadow creatures? Dothry?
Dothy.
Dothy, that's it.
Douthy.
Dobby. Yeah.
Dobbies.
Dave wanted to talk about a card we skipped over.
I don't know about this. I don't know how good this card is, but I think it's interesting because it's instant speed, which kind of surprised me the first time I saw it. So shared summons. It's 3 green for an instant. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards with different names. Reveal them, put them into your hand, shuffle your library. So it's a little pricey at 5 mana, but green. If any color can do it, it's green. Again, instant speed's huge on this. So if there's some kind of 2-card combo with creatures, it can get you both. I think it's going to be too slow for Modern to get something like Vizier, plus.
Yeah.
But for Standard, I mean, I think this could see some play. I mean, it's
I
draw 2 cards,
I don't
whatever you
disagree.
want.
Like Ignite the Beacons is a card that we thought might see some play, and we've had every version of Planeswalker build and haven't seen that card see play. So I don't know. I agree it being an instant. We have a couple effects like this. We have there's a regrowth, a 5 mana regrowth that's an instant that's for 2 permanents.
But that's different. Like you got to have already something.
No,
You can just cast.
I
this.
don't disagree. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that like these 5 minute instant speed value effects to get 2 things,
Might be just a little too.
they
slow.
just haven't broken through. So
true.
if one could break through, I this would be the one I would see, but I don't have high hopes for it.
Is there any? There aren't any like Eternal Witness type cards, right? They say if you can almost start like a value chain.
Now I was gonna say Tameo is like the only thing we know that I know we have an actual effect like that on a permanent. I can't think of a creature that does it right now.
I don't know. Just saying. Keep your eye out on this one. I think this is one that has some potential. If there's like a creature based combo, this might be a key card in that.
I agree. I think the art's fantastic on it too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, Cavalier Cycle because
Yep,
that was
the
green and green did
elemental
not get a lot of cards.
knights.
We're talking about the best one, the green one.
We got to go in order, Dave.
Okay.
White Cavalier, Zildruna Silgauskas. No, does that not count? Big Z, man, he was great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to slide back up to it. I should just tap the color.
I got it right here, man.
Go for it.
You go.
Start it.
All right, Cavalier of Dawn. So all of these have triple and color requirements. So this one's 2 white for a 4/6 elemental knight with vigilance. When Cavalier of Dawn enters the battlefield, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. When Cavalier of Dawn dies, return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Not feeling this one. Morgan's not feeling it.
It does have synergies, obviously, with, again, History Benalia, the Conclave Tribunal, right? So, like, it has some synergies with that, but other than that, meh. I don't really like...
What is it with two of the cards in white, specifically referencing enchantments going to the graveyard?
I don't know.
Like, the other one gets a counter when enchantments go to the graveyard, and this one brings one back. Like, what's munching all these enchantments? I don't get it.
I think, like, the, Beast Within sort of effect is probably the best part of this card.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
other than that,
it
I'm
comes
not...
down, you can kill a Planeswalker.
Yeah, like, that's a pretty big, this is something where you can at least answer the Teferi they have on board.
I'd like this more if it had life
And,
vigilance.
It is something that also punishes them, like, they don't want to bounce this, right?
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah. But I would like to have had lifelink more than it had vigilance, just because you could ostensibly come down and, like, hit something with it and then have a 5/5 lifelink thing so it could stabilize against aggressive board states. But
I want to be really careful when talking about these cards, because I feel like they could all be really good for all we know, and they could all just not see play.
no, I
feel like
agree
there's
with
a
that.
lot of leeway here.
The mana commitment is tough.
Yeah.
So I think that they have to be pretty good.
They certainly have a ton of abilities.
Yeah, they
So that's,
do
I think
have
they're hard to evaluate, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, if the format calls for this specific ability to be good, then yeah, it's gonna be really good. But if not, then maybe not. Maybe it's just the requirements are just too tough.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's start with the blue one. 2 blue for a 5/5 creature elemental knight. Has flying. When it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards. Then put put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. When Cavalier of Gales dies, shuffle it into its owner's library. Then scry 2. So you could brainstorm on the turn it comes into play, then sacrifice it and put those 2 cards you brainstormed on the bottom. But wait, you shuffled the creature in anyways, so you already got the shuffle. I don't understand why brainstorm is attached to this card. I don't
have any
understand
fetch
it.
lands.
Do you
I mean,
think,
we have,
like
Evolving Wilds? Right?
I think I just like think of this cynically. It's like they like brainstorm. Give them
Yeah, but
brainstorm.
like we had the card Pondering Mage in Modern Horizons, and like this card should have Ponder on
Yeah.
it. Like it should. Why does it have Brainstorm? I get it. You get the Scry, but the Scry 2 is literally irrelevant because you already shuffled the cards away when this died.
Yep.
I do think this one is much worse than the white one, at least, because it doesn't affect the board.
Yeah, I
when
agree with
it
that.
comes in. So, Brainstorm attached to a 5-mana creature is not the same as 1-mana instant in a format with fetch lands.
Dave, I would read your book about
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
1-mana instants and five
Yeah, I
mana
know.
creatures
I
are
know.
not the same thing.
I know. Try to follow me here.
I'm glad that we brought you in for the insights on this
Yeah.
one, Dave.
Well, let's talk about the black one because I think the black one's at least better.
Okay, black one, Cavalier of Night. This one does have lifelink.
Yes.
This is the one you thought.
It's also a 4/5.
So it's 2 black, 4/5 lifelink. Cavalier of Night enters the battlefield. You may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy target creature an opponent controls. When it dies, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you can play it, sacrifice something to kill something else, and then when it dies, you can bring back the thing that you sacked.
Right.
It's kind of cool. Might go in the old was it Stitcher Supplier deck?
This one's
This is it.
This one's
Ties
2
it all
abilities
together.
at least make sense together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because like I don't know that the other ones do so far. So, but yeah, I think this one's good. This one does do a little bit of the board stabilization because you can pick off a guy with another creature. If you have a creature that has either an ETB, which is fine, or like a death trigger, we have a couple of those cards that are fine. This could do that. So
I mean, talk about even just as a sideboard card against mono red. If you're playing a heavy black deck, this 5 toughness gets around Lava Coil. So it's a pretty big deal, at least in current standard. That
I
might change,
agree.
who knows?
Mhm.
But, it's something that can come down, kill a creature.
Potentially.
4/5 lifelink is huge.
Yeah.
Then if it dies, you get some value. That's
I
pretty
think
nice.
it's important that do all of these. I'd have to look at all of them, but do they all have to have? They have to die for their trigger to happen at the end.
I believe so.
That's so weird to me.
Yes.
Like this cycle of mythics, all like exile effects also turns them off. It's just odd. Okay, I know they don't. I'm sure they were afraid of making the Titans Part 2, which
So
is part of this.
They all have enters the battlefield and then dies triggers.
All right, Cavalier of Flame, 2 red for a 6/5 elemental knight. Has an activate ability. 1 in a red creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn.
It can't just half haste.
No, it has to.
This one you have to activate.
When it enters the battlefield, discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. When Cavalier of Flames dies, it deals X damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control, where X is the number of land cards in your graveyard. So get it? You should discard a bunch of land cards when you cast your 5-drop on curve.
Yeah, because you're gonna have so many cards in hand.
Yeah.
Combos with
Well, see,
with the Pirate Minotaur. So ding there.
So when you're flooding out, you like, oh, I drew 3 lands in a row. Oh wait,
I don't.
Cavalier Flame.
I don't
Give me
know.
some spells.
Yeah, I don't know. Like this is the pump ability is cool if you can chain creatures after it. So I guess like you discard to get some creatures and then you cast those creatures the next turn. You give them all haste. Like that does sound powerful, but I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know how many cards I'm supposed to have in hand in my very heavy red deck after I cast my 5-drop. I don't really know. I could just cast the Riot Dragon for 5 mana and attack you now. So I really need to do convincing here that this is, especially like, yes, it can hit planeswalkers when it dies. Okay, what if it doesn't die?
What if you don't? What if you have 1 land in your graveyard?
Yeah, I got
Yeah, this one seems like it's just like not always going to do what you want.
I would almost say rarely. That's where I would go. All right, last one.
Last one is Cavalier of Thorns. 2 green,
This
green,
one's
green.
J.R. Smith, by the way. He's a
fine.
bit prickly at times.
All right. It's a 5/6 reach. When enters the battlefield, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Put a land card from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest into your graveyard. Not tapped, by the way. When it dies, you may exile it. If you do, put another target card from your graveyard on top of your library.
There's your e-witness effect. You were so desperately.
There it is. Yeah, you
we
search-
found it.
Search for this, and then you ramp, and then.
And you have to wait for it to die, and then
Yeah.
you get the card back.
But then, then you get to search for more creatures the next turn. No, honestly, I think this one's really good.
I think this card is certainly fine. It's probably the best of the cycle. Maybe it fights in the black one for best in the cycle. I don't. This seems like they wanted to make a cycle of creatures that had specific color identities, but were so afraid of making the Titans that they made a mess.
I think the red
A
one
mess.
is especially kind of a mess.
Yeah, it's just like I get
Once again.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like it's certainly a powerful card. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Maybe these will end up dominating the format, or at least being identifying, and we'll go, oh yeah, the Cavaliers. But otherwise, they're going to be like every Cavaliers team that didn't have LeBron James on them, which is forgettable.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Mark Price, Hot Rod
Did
Williams.
you just do
had
that
some good years.
so somebody could quote you and just be like, "This is what Mike said at your instep."
I mean, it's a good quote.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're probably good enough to still get beaten by Michael Jordan with the flute.
So mine is, hey, so they made this card called Timergoyf. Remember that one?
Timergoyf 2.
No, I think this card is pretty sweet.
Was that our last cycle?
yes.
All right, we're on Golden Lands. Let's finish this up. We're gonna take it home.
I didn't add a lot of things to multicolor.
Don't
That's fine,
care.
we'll just go through it.
So
That first one is right though. You added that first one. That was a good one.
What's the first one?
The first one is the Corpse Knight.
yep.
White and a black for a 2/2. Whenever it's a zombie knight.
Yeah, 2 relevant creatures.
Yeah, another just set of marrying them together. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. So like
counts tokens.
Yep.
you put this one in there, and then you cast History of Benalia, and you just profit. So yeah, I like this card a lot. Again, it can play in both the zombie deck or the black white knights deck that does technically possibly exist.
Yeah.
That's
Play Hanged Executioner. Take 2.
Done. We figured it out.
but this card works well in any deck that's going to try and flip into a Danto's the first fort.
Yeah,
Like
that's true too.
make a 1/1, you lose a life. I have a 1/1 to attack with. Sounds fine. So
It's going in the cube too.
Nice. I like that card. Yeah, I think like looking at some of the like Kalia, I don't think is good enough, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we are getting a set of Wedge Legends in this set, and I think a lot of them don't quite make the cut. I think the closest one is the Jeskai one, is Kaikar.
Isn't Kalia
Wind
just-
Sphere.
Let's say is Kalia just good on its own?
It's a 3/3 flyer with vigilance.
So it's 3/3 flying vigilance that sometimes. I mean, I guess obviously it depends on the makeup of your deck.
Yeah,
But
I
you
think
may
that's
you
the
may just get a
problem
card
with it.
out of it. I mean,
So when it enters the battlefield, you go to the top 6 cards of your library, reveal an angel card, a demon card, a dragon card from your hand, put them on the bat, or put that into your hand for the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. I mean, like decks are kind of playing Feather, and it's a 3-mana 3/4. So I've got to play 3 different colors to play this
Yeah.
card that might hit an angel.
I think the thing that definitely holds it back is it's Mardu. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying it's unplayable. And like, yes, a 3-mana 3/3 that just like sometimes draws a card is fine, but I don't think. I think this card demands you build your deck in a certain way, and I don't think this card's good enough to build your deck that way.
but it finds your Tarmogoyf, dude.
Yeah,
don't know if you-
that's
we
another
did
deck
it.
card.
I don't know
Here's
if you
the
caught that.
I think that Kethis is closer than you might think.
yeah,
Oh, that card's insane.
Yeah, Kethis the Hidden Hand is white. I'm sorry, I'm reading all these, Dave. You can read this one.
All right, fine. Kethis, the hidden hand, is Abzan.
Yeah,
White, black,
junk.
green for a 3/4 legendary elf advisor. It says legendary spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Also has an activated ability of exile 2 legendary cards from your graveyard. Until end of turn, each legendary card in your graveyard gains. You may play this card from your graveyard. It's a lot of graveyard.
Yeah,
Graveyard.
I think the
graveyard,
biggest
graveyard.
point against this card is it's not blue.
It's not blue, but yeah, it's doing a lot of things. So 3-mana 3/4 at its base is fine. You know, it's good stats, right? Makes all your planeswalkers cost 1 less.
Yep.
You can play this into Nissa,
hmm
just on its own.
Yep.
It's pretty nice. And then late game, you can just exile, some dead planeswalkers to play planeswalkers out of your graveyard. Now, I think that's going to be the most common thing, but say you had another copy of this die earlier, you can exile the one in your graveyard and something else to play something. And it's all too, so you just exile 2 legendaries, and then for the rest of the turn, you can just
You can
play
just
cards
cast,
out.
yeah.
So if you have cheaper ones, now I'm trying to think of cheaper legends that you could play, but
I'd really have
I
to go
don't
back
know.
and look. There's a lot of legends in this
and
format.
they all cost less.
It's something to remember. Like we had Dominaria. Like there's a lot of legends in this format. So I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah,
So
I think this
Um,
card is real nice. Now,
Yeah,
very color restrictive, obviously.
yeah, color restrictive
so-
and like is a build around, but it's a real bonus. And here's the thing: if you're using this to like again cheat out a Nissa, for example, that you mentioned it being a 3/4, it's a good blocker.
Yeah.
It's a good blocker for that. So no, I think that card is gonna. I wouldn't be surprised when it sees a fair amount of play.
You guys brawling with this card?
I think
I mean, I guess all these could
somebody
be- all these
claimed
could
this
be
card,
brawl.
right?
It's interesting. I definitely.
Did Keller claim this card?
No, I said that I liked
Oh,
it.
you did.
so.
You did. Okay. I think we should talk about Kaikar as well.
Yes.
I brought up Kaikar because Shaheen Sarani wrote an article about it in Jeskai Control. So,
because of course he did. It's
yeah,
a very weird card.
Yeah, it's weird. So I'll let you guys read it.
Kaikar Winds Fury. 1 blue, red, white, so Jeskai. For a 3/3 legendary creature bird wizard. Has flying. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Sacrifice a spirit, add red.
Red. Why?
I don't know, because they're Skirk Prospectors now, but the ghosts of Skirk Prospectors. Yeah, I think like just anytime you have a Pyromancer effect, we've got a couple in standard right now. They're pretty powerful, but this one making flyers, I think, is a big deal. And your flyers being able to turn into more spells sometimes is also pretty great. So
And Shaheen points out that it works very well with the Flame Sweep card.
it does do that as well. I think the worst thing about this is that, like, if we're saying that, like, I think that Kalia is not even a very good rate for a 3/3, then this is not at all a good rate for a 3/3
Yeah.
flyer. But
So the more I think of it, like, how much better is this than the 1/5 that makes?
Murmuring Mystic,
Yeah.
I don't know, because Murmuring Mystic
Right, 'cause
lives through a lot of
That's
stuff.
1/5,
Yeah.
right? And this thing just like dies to a lightning strike.
But like this also gets to attack. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was saying Murmuring Mystic is also, when you talk about Flame Sweep.
Yeah,
That's
not
nice.
not wrong, not wrong. So, but I think interesting cards just the same. Let's see here. Is there any other?
Lightning Stormkin.
Yeah, it's a 2/2
2
with haste.
flying haste for 2.
It is a wizard
It's a
as
wizard.
well.
We still have Wizard Lightning in the format for a little while longer, so
Yeah,
that might
and
be
Adelies.
and Adelise, yeah. It's pretty nice. That one, I mean, we saw what was the red white creature? Sky Knight Legionnaire?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't quite ever good enough, but shave a mana off.
Yeah,
maybe?
we got a a Sky Knight Vanguard in this set, which
I like that card,
is like
actually.
it's like a little, it's a baby. What is it? Make Cat Knights, Bramaz.
Yeah.
It's a little Bramaz.
Yeah.
I want to mention quickly Tomebound Leech, or Lich, sorry. 1 blue black for a 1/3 zombie wizard, death touch, lifelink.
Somehow it's
When it
uncommon.
enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. This seems very good.
Yeah.
So,
It's a lot of abilities.
It is a lot of abilities. Yeah.
and then we have Yarick the Desecrated, which I gotta say is the most heavy-handed legendary I've ever heard of. Like Yarick is referenced so many times in the stupid song of or lament for Balagad, and I get it, I get it, I get it.
He's sad because the Eldrazi done wrecked his shop.
Yeah, well, I don't know. He looks like a nobody from Kingdom Hearts. So
Well, the Eldrazi came and done.
but
Stole
two
his
soul
heart.
ties, so 2 black, green, blue for a 3/5 with death touch and lifelink. It's a legendary elemental horror, but it does have the panharmonica music playing. For permanent entering the battlefield, causes a triggered ability
Hear it in the background.
of a permanent you control to trigger. That ability triggers an additional time. So that's powerful, and we saw panharmonica do a bunch, but I don't know if 5 mana does it. Yeah. So
I want to go back and talk about Risen Reef.
Risen Reef. Okay.
Now, this is a speculative one.
Okay.
So Risen Reef is
Tormogorth 3, everybody.
No, nope. It's 1 green blue elemental. It's a 1/1. When Risen Reef or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't, put the card into the battlefield. Put the card onto the battlefield. Put it into your hand. Sorry, I got.
Yeah, it's
So it's like Coiling Oracle.
yeah, that's what it is.
But for this and for every other elemental. Now we have another. There's an elemental in red that like puts 2 1/1 elementals into play. So it's like you get triple. I just think like it's if elementals are a thing, which I haven't seen a ton in this set to really make me think that it's going to be constructed playable, but I think there's a way to abuse this to just kind of go off. You know, either you're just ramping a lot or drawing a lot of cards. I think it's just something to just remember is there.
Fair enough.
There might be something crazy there.
All right, let's finish up here with Colorless and Land. First up here is Colossus Hammer. You don't want to talk about Bag of Holding, Morgan?
No.
Yeah, it's fine. I do think that it's weird that we got such a specific D&D.
Yeah,
card,
it's definitely a cute nod to D&D.
Colossus Hammer is 1 mana for an artifact equipment. We finally got playable equipment. Equipped creature gets +10 and loses flying. Equip cost of 8. I do like the flavor on that, where it's like, hey, here's this big sword. You can't jump high.
Yeah.
The Megaton Hammer. Man, this is only literally being read here because of
It's combo with Sigarda's Aid.
Sigarda's Aid. So Sigarda's Aid is what, an enchantment,
Yeah.
and it lets you whenever so it's like when it enters the battlefield, what does it do?
I forget what
Play
it
as
does.
Flash or something.
Yeah, and then your equipment comes into play attached to a creature you control, which is the relevant part.
Yeah, so you can just like equip it to things that have like infect or double strike and just win the game
Yeah, you sure can.
on turn 2. Actually, yeah, it's Flash.
I don't think it's actually good.
No, I don't think so either. But
People are doing it.
No,
well,
yeah,
they're talking about
yeah,
it.
It's
I
something
guess.
to mention for sure, but yeah, I don't think it's actually good.
yeah,
Probably not.
We get Golos, Tireless Pilgrim. Golos.
yeah, Golos, Tyrus Pilgrim.
So it's an artifact creature, so it costs 5. It's a 3/5. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. So it's kind of solemn simulacrum. But you can get any
happier
land.
robot.
Yeah, but you can get
Not
any.
so sad robot.
You can get any land.
Yeah, any
So
land
not
is
just
nice.
a basic. It was pretty sweet. It's also bigger. Then it has an activated ability of 2 generic white, blue, black Wooburg. So it's 7 total mana. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn without paying their mana cost. So if you can get to that,
Yeah, I think
you're kind of doing
in
it.
this format, it's not that hard to get to that. And I think this card is definitely something that people have been sleeping on. I know Sam Black has been brewing with it a little bit, but
You
I think this card's powerful.
The Lotus Field.
That you could get the Lotus Field. That's true. Does not actually help you do this very much.
No, but you could.
But no, I think this card is undervalued at the moment, and I think I'll be excited to see what it does.
Also, sweet commander.
Yeah,
Or
look
Brawl
at you.
Commander.
Look at him. Dave's all about Brawl Commanders now.
I'm
He
just
can't
saying
help
it because
himself.
I know that if you have the activated ability with all the colors, you can play all the
Oh,
colors.
he's learned. That's good. I'm
Yep.
glad. So you're gonna build that one?
No.
Oh, okay. Next up is Grafdigger's Cage. It's 1 generic for an artifact. Creature cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from their graveyards, from graveyards or libraries. Sees a bunch of modern play. Necessary reprint.
Yeah. It still also shuts off spells because we still have
Jumpstart.
Jumpstart.
So Jumpstart, it stops Arclight Phoenix.
Yep.
And standard.
Stops
I like the flavor of that. You just hear them like smacking against the metal. Like, where are my phoenixes at? Ding, 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 ding. Let them out.
I guess it,
Get the birds out of the cage.
I guess it stops Finale of Devastation. If
Does
that's a
that
thing.
too.
Yes.
Man, all the things you love.
All these things. Yeah. Got a Icon of Ancestry. It's an artifact, costs 3. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type gets +1/+1. That has 3 tap. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card of the chosen type from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's kind of a nice Anthem effect. If we do see any of these night decks that we were talking about, zombies, vampires. What else we got? Elementals, I guess.
That's the one.
Yeah, I mean, this is something. I mean, at the very least, it's going to be a pretty popular casual card.
Yeah, I think they fought pretty hard to try and make Anthem effects relevant again. But I don't remember the last time we had a ton seeing play.
I mean, we have the one.
Like, yeah, Radiant Destiny
Radiant
sees
Destiny.
some play now, but not much.
No.
And so we had the humans one, always watching, saw some play. So I think it's hard to hit the sweet spot on that, and I think this activated ability helps a lot, just giving you something to do, like post sweeper to reset. I do like this card a fair amount.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Chapin wrote an article about it.
Oh, interesting.
For Star City Games on the premium side too. So that's why I put it on there. I was like, I didn't really think about it, but maybe there's something there. I don't know if you want to talk about Manifold Key.
It's basically Voltaic Key, but it has an extra ability of making creatures unblockable.
Well, it's because they couldn't get through because of the locked doors. So,
Yeah.
I don't know why they're printing cards like this. I don't understand their point, to be quite honest. But whatever. Let's make more things that
So you can
tap things.
It's so in this theoretical standard plus format, you can tap your Aetherworks Marble and then you can untap it and then you do it again.
Okay. Next up is Mystic Forge, another card I don't understand. 4 generic for an artifact. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an artifact card or a colorless non-land card. Pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library. Who asked for this? Who?
I don't know.
Tell me. I need a name.
I like how it
Lantern.
says colorless non-land, so you can't even play lands off the top.
No, like, you just...
So it's
I don't
just
know.
like for like Eldrazi decks or like for like vintage,
It's like the decks that
workshop
would
decks
want
or
this
whatever.
card aren't doing things that you want Magic decks to do most of the time, right?
True.
Whatever. If this card sees play, it's going to be the same slot that Bottled Cloister operates in, and you're going to hate it because you're going to associate it with torture and pain.
No, I think this is mostly possibly colorless Eldrazi in modern, or legacy and vintage, like
Yeah, fair enough.
artifact whatever colorless decks. Maybe.
Okay.
What else we got here?
Steel
Steel Overseer
yeah,
reprint.
that's a
That's
good
cool.
one.
I don't think that's relevant for standard.
I don't think so either, but I mean, put it on, make all my car instructs, and
I mean,
Saheeli tokens?
did talk about Saheeli.
yeah, it does work well with Saheeli. That Saheeli deck's coming to life, man. Oh
We're
my
doing
gosh.
it.
I have 5 servos, and I'll make them all Steel Overseers.
Next turn, you're gonna be dead.
Just you wait a second. Well, I cast at the end of turn. So
okay.
it's already the next turn.
Okay.
The
Perfect.
counters have happened.
We did it.
Oh man.
Cryptic Caves. Oh man. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. The mystery's a little hard. Cryptic.
Cryptic Caves is it's a land, taps to add a colorless mana, and then you can pay 1, tap it, and sacrifice it to draw a card. Activate only if you control 5 or more lands. So it's like the colorless Horizon Canopy, but standard legal.
Yeah, I like that. We also have Crucible Worlds still legal and standard, so
Sure do.
Now
go crazy.
that's a little dirty. It's a little dirty, but just having a. I mean, this is a nice land to have. I think
It
Now,
certainly is.
obviously,
I don't
if
know
you
what
play-
decks can really use it effectively right now.
if you're playing 3 colors, you're probably not going to risk playing this at all. But I think it's a nice.
No, I
a
like
nice
the design.
card.
It's a good design. I like it a lot.
Yep.
Next up is Field of the Dead. This is just a land. Should be a desert, but that's fine. Field of the Dead enters the battlefield tapped. Taps for a generic.
Colorless.
Whatever.
Taps for a colorless.
I don't care.
Specifically.
Whenever a Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So this one is pretty spicy, and this is the better Scapeshift target. If I had to guess there. Yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting card. It is not that difficult to get 7 different named lands in standard right now. Most of the decks you're playing, if they're 3 color, are already playing 3 different shocks, maybe 3 different checks, and then maybe a basic or 2. So you've already got 7 or 8 different land types in there, and you could mess around with that a little bit more.
You play the value Golos deck.
Yeah, the value
You just
Golos
go-
deck that
you
just
go
plays
get this.
Scapeshift. Yeah, I'm in for that. So yeah, I think this card's really powerful. The nice thing is too that this works pretty well with things like like Evolving Wilds or stuff. Once you already are at that threshold point, you're like, oh, Evolving Wilds has a different name. Here's a zombie. Oh, I'll fetch it. Oh, there's a zombie. So I like that.
All right. Good. Lotus Field. As the aforementioned Lotus Field. So it's not a legendary land for some reason.
Of the Columbus Lotus Fields.
Yeah. Yes. Not legendary, so it's just a land. Has hexproof.
It's a big field.
Yeah. Enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you sacrifice 2 lands. You can tap it to add 3 mana of any one color. So I think this is a callback to Lotus Veil, which was a weird Weatherlight card that had some weird, I know the wording on it has changed
You had to
over the
sacrifice
years.
2 untapped.
Untapped lands.
I think it was 2 other untapped lands or bury this one.
There was definitely a time where you could play that card,
Tap
just
for
tap
mana.
it, and then not sack, just sack itself. So
Right.
it was just basically like a Black Lotus, but it cost you a land drop. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, this is like the way fixed version of this, but it has hexproof, so it can't be Field of Ruin. Or
Yeah, that is
whatever.
nice. And the lands that you sacrifice don't have to be untapped this time, so you can use them before you do this. So, I don't know why I don't know what this card is doing. But
No, I don't know either, but it's possible it could have some implications with Amulet and Modern, maybe.
there's a bunch of things in standard that say go search for a land.
Yeah.
Where I could see maybe this is the one you go search for. You had mentioned the elf that does it, the Golos that does it.
Yeah, I think if there are ways to untap lands, do we have anything that says
the Kiora Planeswalker
yeah,
is
yeah,
pretty
something
good
like
at
that could make you kind of break the symmetry, I guess,
It's true.
on this. So I think it's important to mention. It's also just a cool card too.
Yeah, and you could also find there are some lands that obviously you go into Modern, you have things like Flagstones that come to mind where you can also break the symmetry. So
yeah, that's cool.
well, that was Core 20. I don't think, honestly, for a mainline standard set, I don't think I've seen something weirder. Like Battle Bond and those kind of things have been weird. This is a weird set.
especially for like a core set, which is supposed to be like
Again,
pretty generic.
Well, so Morgan and I had a conversation last week about I was saying does this really matter as a ramping set? And I think it's hard to argue that it is a ramping set when you have things like protection back in it. And you have all these strange magic cards. It just
Cavaliers that have like 1,000 abilities on it.
yeah, I don't know.
To be fair, the Cavaliers are at the very least mythic rare, so you won't see them very often.
But I mean, even like Lotus Field, I think this is a card that is difficult for players to understand, and it's the kind of card that leads to mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I played it as my second land. Well, that's unfortunate. You now have to sacrifice this land and your other land because you misread the card. You didn't understand how it worked.
Yeah.
That is not a ramp card, and this is just a regular rare. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff in here. So I appreciate. Here's the thing: core sets need to do some things to be worthwhile because otherwise they're just pools for reprints. Which the reprints we got here are important, and we got a lot of some of the new hate cards are nice. We got some okay cards, but last year they hung their hat on the dragons and the Nicol Bolas stuff, and this year they hung their hat on I guess Chandra and elementals, and. Maybe it could have just been Chandra. I don't know.
And Chandra was the theme.
Well, it shines through.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. It's not really
the theme
moving.
was quirky.
I don't really think it's moving the needle for me.
No, me neither.
It still feels like it's a format that's going to be dominated by Teferi decks.
Yeah. Well, I think you can't judge a core set. Like a summer core set like this on the format that comes before it. Like you've got to judge it with rotation as well. I would say that.
But I still don't think with rotation, there's still a mystery set that we won't.
No, of course there is. But I think when you look at a core set, they are generally the minor impact set either way, and asking a core set asking this to fix the Teferi problem is a lot.
Yeah, no,
honestly. They tried. There are cards in there that are designed to
Sure. That is true. You have certain colors that are definitely going to get some tools that'll help them fight against, the Teferi tempo problem that exists. I was hoping for more things that did interact with planeswalkers, maybe on a 1-to-1 level, if that makes any sense. I think we have Planar Cleansing, which is a big spell that obviously gets rid of things, but maybe I don't know. I guess we do have the hate cards, and they for the most part do work against planeswalkers. So maybe those will have more of an impact than what I'm giving them credit for.
Yeah, I was gonna say the hate cards, but the protection creatures and the targeted color hate cards, I think are gonna have a bigger impact than people realize.
I don't know if the protection creatures. I don't know if two of them are definitely good at attacking.
Not all of them.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if they can pressure planeswalkers a majority of the time, but yeah, there are definitely some things that'll show up and be role players. I think the temples are going to be important down the road. What I think is kind of interesting is it does feel like we are getting set up for things, but WotC really does like to subvert our expectations because it's so are we just gonna get half the temples and not go back to Theros? Because that'd be weird, right? Yeah,
that's what we're getting.
So I don't know what their plans are. I don't know what the rare. The rare lands we get in the next set are they going to just be the temples? Maybe the plane. Obviously, the plane we go to can have temples. It's not impossible. So I don't really know. This set's weird. The next set might be kind of weird too. So
Frostburn weird.
Because
it might be cold.
Yeah, it could be.
That's it. That's the Palooza. Stick a thing in it.
It's done.
Is it a fork? Yeah, forks. Stick them in there.
I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna because I'm at a point in time where it's I don't know how interested I am in standard at this point.
I've never heard you say that before.
Well, it's just we're just getting to a point in time where standard is just a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm sure
boring.
WotC doesn't appreciate your cavalier attitude.
Too bad. They should have printed less Cavaliers.
Print more Tarmogoyfs.
Well, apparently they already did that. So, but I don't know. I think it's just weird. It's just a weird set, and I don't know if it's weird in a good way. If that makes any sense. It's not. It's weird, but it's not getting me excited to see what happens. It's just weird. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's very just like odd abilities on cards. That
Yeah.
will probably end up not being good enough.
Right.
You know,
It's
it's
just
just
like,
whoa,
so
look
what?
at this thing.
So what
Okay,
do we
cool.
do here? Also, I think Mike said this in our group chat, but the limited portion of this format might be
it's gonna be
terrible.
terrible.
It might be actively terrible. It's a core set. You're not expecting much, but I feel like M19 was a bit more interesting. Maybe
I don't remember. I can't actually make a comparison.
that's true.
I will say, like, at least for limited, it feels like you can more easily play multicolor, like 3-color decks, because you get the gain life.
Yeah,
commons,
that was the
common
same
lands.
thing for Corset 19 as well. They had a whole cycle of the common tap lands.
Okay.
So, like these tap lands could replace your basic land as well. So, which is pretty important, especially if you draft it. Remember, you have to
Yeah,
keep your,
are they
your
actually
land in the
doing
back.
that, or is it
yes,
just
yes,
Okay.
they are. That has been confirmed.
All right, so if you open up one of these sweet like 3-color
You-
wedge
yeah.
wedge cards, you can kind of build around that. It's kinda
Potentially.
cool.
Well, yeah, it's a core set. It's hard to. I'm glad they exist. I'm glad they're here. The reprints are good that we're getting. This one is weird, and I hope that with later announcements, it makes more sense. And that's where I'm gonna leave my point.
Well, after I told you to put a fork in it.
Not too bad. I still want to talk more. That's going to be everything for us this week. So you got a nice long one here for you. If you want to reach out to us, you most certainly can. We have a Twitter. It's YourEndStep. When you add us, it's at YourEndStep. You also have an email address. It's at YourEndStep@gmail.com. And then we have Facebook, facebook.com/@YourEndStep. While you are listening to our show, if you're listening to it via a app that allows you to leave a rating or review, we would appreciate you doing so. We think that we're a 5-star podcast. If you are listening to us via Legit MTG, thank you so much for picking up the show. Check out some of the articles they have on there, and of course their online store. Again, visit our lovely sponsor Comic Town at worldofcomictown.com and check out their comic book podcast that they have there, which is black, white, and red all over. If you are one of our patrons, thank you so much for contributing to the show. And if you'd like to become a patron, check out patreon.com/@YourEndStep. But that's going to be everything again for us this week. We'll catch you next time. You have a great one. Bye.